What's going on, you guys? We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. If you're watching this in a live playback, we're going to be watching the Flare community update today from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. If that's not your thing, we're still going to do the normal show at 11 a.m. like we always do. Whether you're watching this in a live playback or watching live, we'll be doing that at 11 a.m. So for those on the playback, check an hour in, but I really don't think you guys are going to want to miss this. It's going to be very cool. It's my first time attending one of these, so we'll see how exactly this goes. But I'm going to shortly open up my screen and start sharing. This thing starts in about 2 minutes, so give me a second to get connected to their link, and we'll watch the Flare community update together. Let's see here. It might just be on Twitter itself. I'm trying to think of how do I get to it. Here we go. Listen live, start listening. Oh, it might just be a phone call. Let's just see. FRD, can you hear the screen very well? Oh, you know what? This might not be the right one. Is this the right one? Let me make sure I got this right. Hold on. I might have joined the wrong thing here. Okay, here we go.
Welcome, everybody. This is Brad Garlinghouse. I am excited to be here, excited that all of you are here. But welcome to our second annual XRP Community Day. This really is a day that's meant for all of you, XRP holders, XRP enthusiasts, XRP builders, any XRP users, and frankly, everyone in between who is part of this XRP family. Sometimes the XRP army, depending upon the topic. But this is about hearing from the whole community, starting with us here at Ripple and from me, but also hearing from people building on the XRP ledger, hearing from people around XRP ETFs, exchanges, digital asset treasuries, and frankly, so many others who believe in the utility and the long-term, very transformative opportunity of XRP. For those of you, this is your second time around. We had over 250,000
Now, hold on, guys. I think the audio just cut out, and I can't tell if it's me. I think it's on their end, you guys.
Brad, I believe we may have lost your audio.
Okay, yeah, there we go. By the way, guys, I'll interact with the chat by actually typing so that I'm not speaking over these guys. I guess this is a good time as any since they're having audio issues. If you're just joining in, I'm in the XRP Community Day. I believe Hugo Fillion will be speaking at this, so we'll just have to see how this plays out. I haven't joined one of these before, so just being open-minded to this, and at 11 a.m. we'll start the normal show. It looks like they're having some difficulties.
Okay, I'm told you guys lost me at some point there. Maybe somebody give me an indication that you can hear me now.
Hi, Brad. This is Tony. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. I guess you guys. Well, Tony, you tell me what did you lose during that intro? I can rewind as needed.
I believe you were speaking on the utility around XRP, such as ETFs, digital asset treasury, and then you cut off.
Oh, so the very beginning. All right. So anyway, the point being that like we've got a bunch of different speakers today from across the XRP ecosystem, representing exchanges, ETF issuers, digital asset treasuries. Last year, some of you guys remember, we had 250,000 listeners. I'm excited to see what we have this year. I'm going to skip a little bit just to interest of time, but look, Tony Edward, I think needs no introduction. I assume many of you know him from Thinking Crypto, which truly is one of the most popular crypto podcasts. But we're going to talk about the macro view for all.
It looks like we lost Brad again.
I think we lost your audio again, Brad.
All right, Tony, we got you.
Yes. Okay. So, Brad, you cut out there again.
Maybe I'm going to switch to my laptop off my phone. I'll be right back.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Excited for this conversation with Brad. And of course, the title of this session will be The Era of XRP in Capital Markets. So thank you all for joining. And we'll let Brad get connected on his laptop here. X Spaces has been notorious for having some issues because it's kind of buggy, as I'm sure many of you have experienced. So we'll just give him a few minutes to get connected.
You know, this kind of reminds me actually of what it was like working full time. Someone's mic's not working, and then you're all just kind of sitting in Microsoft Teams waiting for stuff to happen. If you're joining live, if you haven't seen what's going on, we're in the XRP Community Day live stream. We're hearing straight from Brad Garlinghouse today. I'm speaking over their music. Hopefully once they get their tech issues resolved, we'll get some good info. At 11 a.m., we're going to start my regular show. No coffee this time. I'm having breakfast while we listen.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me now?
Yes, coming through loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you. We are ready to go, ready to roll.
Awesome. Well, good morning, Brad. Thank you for taking the time to do this and excited for our conversation today. I believe the last time we spoke was in Miami at Ripple Swell, I think a couple of years ago.
I remember it well. And I think Ripple Swell Miami was, I thought, a special one. We're obviously glad to be back here in New York for them now, but thank you for doing that. And I've talked to you a couple times, obviously, so I look forward to this and more in the future.
Absolutely. So, Brad, I believe the first and most important question I need to ask you, and maybe top of mind for many folks, are you planning to flip any switches soon?
Look, I do like this question because I'm always a little bit humored. And the way I think about this is if there was one magic switch, I promise you I would have flipped it. The way I think about this is there's a culmination of thousands of switches. And those are switches being turned by Ripple. Those are switches being turned by the community represented here, by all the different small pieces that collectively, I think, have an exponentially increasing impact. And so, look, I'm as bullish and optimistic as anyone when I think about the opportunity for XRP. I promise you that if there is a switch to flip, a switch to flip, I certainly would.
By the way, I was just, talking about maybe some of the switches at the Ripple office or at your house. So, but on a more
there are light switches everywhere.
Yeah, but on a more serious note, Brad, before we get into all things Ripple and XRP, I have to ask you about what happened in the global markets last week. What do you make of this drawdown, and how does it compare to the past cycles?
That's an important question. And look, as I tweeted out kind of in the middle of it, whenever I see people being exceptionally fearful, I feel greedy. Whenever I see people being really greedy, I feel fearful. But last week was a bloodbath. And, certainly markets have stabilized, are now recovering to some degree. I do want to zoom out a little bit and put this into context. Look, there are a lot of smart people, many of them on Twitter. Silver and gold were down, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and around 15%, as a sell-off. Certainly, crypto this year has tracked some of the US equity markets around software and particularly some of the AI stuff. And then if you zoom out kind of to your question, the drawdown is comparable to the 22 bear cycle, but it's actually done better than that. BTC ended down 48% versus 77% in the 22 bear cycle. And look, XRP this year is the best of the major cryptos. It's other than Bitcoin, it's the best performing kind of year to date. The other thing I'll point out is that since the Trump election, XRP is by far the best performing of the major crypto assets, up about 170%. Yeah, Bitcoin's basically flat since the Trump election. So, I do, as frustrating as that bloodbath was and kind of continues to be to some degree, I think it's important to zoom out and, look at the broader landscape as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And markets are cyclical. We've seen this many times in this asset class, and it's the same for the stock market and other asset classes as well. But Brad, on that note, you joined Ripple in 2015, and a lot has changed since then. We've seen certainly some arduous pain points, within the crypto industry, especially under the Gensler regime. But how do you feel about the growth the industry has seen over time?
I think that kind of gets to the zoom out point. And, when I joined in 2015, I first got involved in crypto in 2012 and, got obviously more involved when I joined Ripple in 2015. And again, that was, although it's been 10 years, in the grand scheme of things, 10 years really isn't that long when you think about money, when you think about currency, when you think about financial infrastructure. 10 years actually isn't that long. And honestly, had you told me 10 years ago when I joined Ripple that, we'd be having these crypto conversations on a global stage, on certainly a national stage, that you'd literally see Congress actively debating, as I think has been well covered. There was a meeting at the White House yesterday where Stu Alderodi, our chief legal officer, represented Team Ripple. Those are things I definitely would not have predicted 10 years ago. So now we've got a long way to go, and I certainly don't want to gloss over that. But these are massive markets, and the opportunity to rewire, accelerate, and make the financial infrastructure more efficient is, I think, truly profound.
And speaking of infrastructure, Ripple has made several major acquisitions over the past 2 years. What's the strategy for 2026? Is it integration of those respective acquisitions, additional acquisitions, or both?
Well, look, I'm super proud of the kind of playing offense last year. And again, you got to remember that for at least 3.5, 4 years, Ripple was playing defense. And just recently, we've been able to kind of shift that into playing offense again, and that has felt great. I feel like we lost some time, which is frustrating, but we're going to work very hard in 2026 to make up that time. I think both of the big acquisitions we made, one in Hidden Road, which is now called Ripple Prime, and two, G Treasury, which we now call Ripple Treasury, are really demonstrative of, I think, too many in the crypto landscape are focused inside the echo chamber. And we were very focused on going outside of the echo chamber, in bringing traditional finance to crypto. So, I'll use G Treasury as an example. Now Ripple Treasury, but G Treasury was already, they have over 1,000 corporate clients where they really are the CFO dashboard, managing liquidity, deposits, currencies, and they had 0% penetration of either digital assets or stablecoin. so the 13 or 14 trillion dollars that they orchestrated around payments, of which, not a huge percentage, but a material percentage was cross-border, that's just all ripe opportunity. They prior to acquisition had visibility into lots of deposits that are effectively dormant and not really being optimized around yield. Well, now we can help them with that using RLUSD and bringing more liquidity on the XRP ledger. So, now the last part of your question, you're right. This year is much more about integration. We have two amazing leaders who came on board and joined my team, who now are, kind of figuring out how to make sure to integrate some of those things we're just talking about. But I could not really be much more pleased. I don't mind sharing. I'm here in New York, and we had a team offsite yesterday, kind of talking through some of these things as we thought about our 2026 strategy. So it's definitely going to be a year of more integration. I don't think you should expect any other big acquisitions, but you never know. The second half of the year, we'll start looking to be more acquisitive again.
And Brad, with the integration on that topic, and even the larger theme of adoption of blockchain technology by TradFi and crypto-focused companies such as Ripple acquiring TradFi companies, right? It's kind of happening on both sides. Do you see over time that it won't necessarily be the crypto market and the TradFi market, that you have this convergence and it's just going to be the market because they're all going to be running on blockchain rails?
Tony, so first of all, I think this is an incredibly important question, and I'm gonna make fun of my age a little bit here. I've been around the technology landscape for a long time. I moved to Silicon Valley in 1997 in the earliest days of the internet, and in those early days of the internet, we would call things an internet company, and Amazon was an internet company, Yahoo was an internet company, and it's like no, actually. Amazon's just a commerce company. Yahoo is just a media company. And over time, we realized the internet is going to be pervasive in every company. And we're not going to have just internet companies. We're going to have companies that integrate these technologies. I believe the exact same thing is true around crypto and blockchain. And even, when I talk about Ripple, you'll rarely hear me refer to Ripple as a crypto or blockchain company. Instead, I think about it as we're a infrastructure company, almost a platform company around financial services. It happens to be we leverage crypto and blockchain to deliver those solutions better, cheaper, faster, stronger. But I don't think in the years ahead we'll talk about these companies as crypto first. And I think, frankly, companies who do that are going to miss the bigger opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So how is Ripple approaching institutions when it comes to utilizing the XRP ledger and even the XRP token? And I'll reference, some recent adoption news like the Billiton Diamond tokenization with Control Alt, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yep.
How are you approaching these institutions?
So first of all, I've said this now a few times on Twitter, but I want to say it here for this community in my own voice. It may not always be obvious. I every single person in the XRP family, the XRP army, to know that XRP is the North Star for Ripple. It's our purpose. When we think about what we're doing on Ripple payments or Ripple Prime or Ripple Treasury or custody or RLUSD, this is all focused on how we can drive utility, trust, and velocity or liquidity around XRP and the XRP ledger. So, things like Ripple payments on the DEX with permissioned domains, Ripple Prime using XRP for collateral and lending, Ripple Treasury we kind of talked about, doing enabled payments around XRP and RLUSD within Treasury management. These are all examples of where we are going to continue to make sure, as we think about Ripple as a platform company for financial infrastructure, that XRP is at the heartbeat of that. You'll hear more about this, some of those specifics from Monica Long, our president at Ripple, later today. And this morning you may have seen we announced Aviva Investors, one of the largest asset management firms in the world, tokenizing on the XRP ledger. So we're going to continue to focus on that institutional opportunity. Ripple has decided to partner when it comes to partner or invest or support companies going after the consumer opportunity. But hopefully it gives a sense of kind of where we are with that.
And the OCC recently granted Ripple conditional approval for a banking license. What does this enable Ripple to do today, and what changes once the conditional provisions are removed?
So, like, I think well, I will leave aside the longer term, big picture opportunity, what we could do. The charter today, this really allows stability around RLUSD. Uh, Many people know that we originally set up and launched RLUSD under the New York DFS kind of trust license, Department of Financial Services in New York, which we felt like at the time was the gold standard. We now have both of these, and it's really, we want to be the most regulated, compliant, because we're focused on institutional flows. Like, that is the priority. Now, the specifics around the OCC charter, it allows kind of better bankruptcy protections for reserve assets. It makes it very clear that RLUSD is a leader under the Genius Act framework, but it really secures and kind of cements our leading position, and we've seen that recognized by analysts and reporters alike. But like, we really are the first stablecoin issuer to have oversight as a trust company at both the state and federal levels. And we think that dual layer is the gold standard. So that's why that's important. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about what we could do in the future. There's been some commentary about a Fed master account, which we do think is compelling. And there's things we may do in the future that I'm not going to go into today. But suffice it to say, you asked earlier that if you told me 10 years ago we would have even conditional approval from the OCC, or kind of even engagement with the OCC, like, that is massive progress relative to where we started this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes have to pinch myself to when I see these news items and the crypto industry are integrating into the TradFi world, and these licenses and all these things being provided. It's pretty amazing, but shows the potential of this technology, and we still have ways to go.
Well, you've been a good person to, I mean, as I said in my introduction, which I guess was the audit, the audio wasn't working so well, but I mean, you've been along this journey for a long time as well, and kind of seen a lot of it firsthand. So we have appreciated that, and I know a lot of people in the community appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And a two-part question here. How is Ripple planning to support the XRP ecosystem with users, developers, and builders? And what are your favorite qualities of the XRP community?
Look, I will start by just being a very genuine. I freaking love this community. I love this army, and I feel like we're a community when we need to be a community. When we're an army, we need to be an army based upon kind of everybody who's attacking us. But the fact that this group has stayed with us through thick and thin, and honestly dug into the data and kind of do your own research, dug into where XRP is well positioned and where it makes sense to use something else, or it does make sense to use XRP. And there's a lot to love about the underlying technology, and I could not be more proud to call myself a member of the XRP family. I'm really in awe of the community and the kind of passion, the resilience is just awesome. And again, I kind of lurk on Twitter sometimes, as you guys know, and seeing people kind of correct, and even honestly also appropriately just ignoring some people, because it's like some people they're spreading, they're just intentionally spreading misinformation. I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna ignore this person. Okay, but one of the things I'm probably most excited about, which is I think an important part of your question here, I think this year, getting more activity and momentum around the lending protocol and other protocols, it's just moving further. It's a priority for me. It's a priority for Ripple. But yield generation, and whether it's Ripple supporting partners like Flare, Morpho, there's coming Uphold, Doppler, Axelar, but all of these companies are doing things around yield generation on the XRP ledger, and I think it's critically important to make it more institutional, more friendly to the community. There are some L1s are kind of ahead of us in this, and I think 2026, seeing real progress on this is important. And I'll also just say, part of the reason I'm proud of this community and frankly proud of Ripple, when we focus on something, we are really freaking good. And this is definitely going to be a focus area in 2026.
And you celebrated the launch of the XRP spot ETFs last year, a major on-ramp, and these have been created for other assets as well, but certainly XRP was one of the most anticipated. And where do you think the ETF market is going this year, and what does this signal about the regulated investment products?
Look, I think this is a really important in terms of making all of crypto more institutional. And again, as you guys know, I believe in a multi-chain world. I'm not an XRP maxi. I think XRP is exceptionally good at some really big solution frameworks, but I'm proud of the fact that Bitcoin had a really successful and powerful ETF launch. Now, XRP was the fastest spot ETF to hit 1 billion in assets under management since ETH. In less than a month. Today, it stands at about 1.5 billion. Even last week, when there was kind of massive, carnage going on in the market, there was positive inflows of, I think $30 or $40 million, which is great. And like some of the big pivots that I wouldn't have expected. Vanguard, as one of the largest asset managers in the country in the U.S., it had until recently, I think it was early December, had been very anti-crypto, and Vanguard finally is opening up access and retirement accounts, and it shows that public markets are keen to invest in crypto, and ultimately, these big players like Vanguard need to adopt what their customers want, and their customers, as demonstrated by the ETFs, not just of XRP but of Bitcoin as well. Customers want it and they need to provide it. And that's important.
So Brad, you referenced Vanguard. It seems that institutions, they must have a crypto or blockchain strategy now. It would be kind of foolish to not have one. And the years before, they kind of ignored it. But it seems like everyone needs to have a strategy now.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I'll say something I said earlier. Like I think we are still in early days. So I don't think we've seen massive adoption yet. And we're kind of in an entrepreneurial journey. One of the things you kind of talk about is going from 0 to 1, and then 1 to 100, and then beyond. And I think 2025 we went from 0 to 1, and that's manifested by ETFs. It's manifested by, frankly, even the BlackRocks of the world. Larry Fink talking about the opportunity around tokenizing assets on blockchains is profound. It's still very early, but crypto isn't fringe anymore. It's being absorbed into capital markets, into treasury management, into prime brokerage. And I think institutions are no longer just exploring blockchain just for crypto exposure. It's for settlement efficiency, for cross-border liquidity. And when you underlay all of that with the improving picture around regulatory clarity, you add all those different pieces together, and honestly, Tony, it's a conundrum that you're seeing the crypto markets struggle over the last 3 or 4 months. I'm incredibly optimistic about what's ahead in 2026. I look forward to the reality I just talked through, catching up with the crypto markets and how crypto assets are priced.
And one of the catalysts that could boost further adoption is the Clarity Act passing. Do you see that passing this year, and what impact may it have?
I mean, Tony, look, I'm an entrepreneur, and so people accuse me of always being optimistic, and so I'm guilty as charged. Now, that being said, I have been very close to this. Ripple has been very close to this. As I mentioned earlier, our chief legal officer was at the White House yesterday. You saw some coverage about that. You have this White House pushing hard to get that moving again. Frankly, I was disappointed and frustrated that it stalled. When the chairman of the banking committee, Tim Scott, kind of paused, if you will. I do think it's going to get moving again here shortly. I think there was some very constructive conversation yesterday at the White House on how to bridge the gap between what some of the banks are feeling and what the crypto community. But look, what the markup that Senator Scott was going to bring had overwhelming support from the crypto community and support around banking. And so I think we're going to get it back on track. I'll give it 75% that by the end of April, this is not just back on track, but very close to getting signed.
Final question here, Brad, as we wrap up. Where do you see Ripple in 2030?
Ooh, wow, 2030. Well, so first of all, I mean, that's only 4 years from now. I mean, that used to feel so far away, and now it's pretty close. Look, I think Ripple will continue to grow as a platform company for financial infrastructure that permeates, it brings XRP and the XRP ledger into all of our use cases and continues to drive that trust, that utility and liquidity in XRP. But look, the thing I will emphasize, of course, we want Ripple to be successful within XRP. I want to keep reminding people, Ripple's reason for existence is driving success around XRP and the XRP ecosystem. We will continue to build products and services that customers love and will pay for to make Ripple successful, but it's in service of the overall XRP ecosystem, and we'll champion technology improvements around XRP as we have, but also champion other use cases and investments that we think will help achieve that. So, look, I think there's a chance there will be a $1 trillion crypto company. I don't doubt that for a second. I think Ripple has the opportunity, if we do things well in partnership with the overall XRP ecosystem, to be that company, and maybe there'll be more than one.
Exciting times are ahead. Brad, I was told you had an announcement to share about exclusive swag.
Yeah, look, Tony, I mean, this is kind of on the fun side of things, but before we close, and as I shared via a teaser yesterday on Twitter, we're doing the first kind of XRP Community Day swag drop. I posted a crew neck that we're going to be giving away. It's got XRP Community Day. It's a limited edition design. Only 2,000 were produced. It's really our way of saying thank you for spending the day with us, obviously virtually, but as part of the XRP community. I'm super excited to kick off the first swag drop, and you'll see our Ripple X Dev account just shared a link in the comments on how to enter to win one. There'll be a few more drops throughout the event when the website is live, so stay tuned for the next one later in the EMEA segment, and then again for the Americas and APAC segment of the event. But look, I'll close just by saying I really appreciate all of you for being here. We have an exciting day planned. I appreciate everybody who kind of organized and helped brought it together. But thank you, Tony, for joining me in this kickoff. And so with all of that, and maybe right on time, despite the audio problems at the beginning, I will hand it off to Marcus Enfinger, our Senior Vice President of RippleX, for the next session.
Thank you, Brad. Hi, everyone. Following on from Brad's opening, it feels pretty clear that the momentum behind the XRP ecosystem has never been stronger. I'm Marcus Enfinger, SVP of RippleX, and I spent 2 decades in global banking prior to Ripple. And so seeing TradFi giants like the one we're about to discuss embrace the speed and efficiency of the XRP ledger is exactly why I'm here. Look, it's really an incredible time to be having this conversation. The popularity of tokenized real-world assets, or RWAs, continues to increase as we've seen billions of financial assets move onto public chains globally. I want to highlight here upfront that the XRPL currently ranks 6th in the total assets league table on R.
Looks like we lost our audio again. This is a good time to make the announcement for those that have been joining in midway through. We're going to do the normal stream at 11 a.m. They've got this live call going, so I thought I'd stream this, and then we can talk about it after the event is over and see if we liked what they had to say, if there's any new news that we heard. It looks like they're working things out, so I'm going to push my mic away again. Plus, sorry in advance if there's a little bit noise when I bite into the apple.
Marcus, I think we lost your audio.
while we're waiting for them to figure their thing out, what kind of apples do you guys like? I've got this Pink Lady apple here, right here. It's probably one of my top 3, up there with Granny Smith and Honeycrisp. Very sweet. Tastes really good. I apologize that, obviously them having their audio issues is not great. We're all kind of in the same boat here, waiting for them to get this thing figured out. I guess while we're waiting on that, you guys can see in the top left corner of the screen, got about a market-wide 4% drop over the past 24 hours. We're going to break that down at 11. And on top of that, silver has been moving back up. Joe says Cosmic Crisp apples are my favorite right now. Oh. Ooh, ABK says, try having the Royal Gala. I'll keep an eye out for that one. Here we go. We got the Ripple music. I thought the Halo music on Monday was better. Complete accident, by the way. There might be words from Hugo Fillion later today. I think I saw a tweet saying that Hugo is going on at 12:15, so that'd be, an hour and a half from now. I was kind of hoping this would be a video call. The pure just a phone call is a little bit of a, I don't want to say buzzkill, but I want to be able to see the guys that are speaking. At least you guys got me. I'm gonna take another bite. Well, that's unfortunate. They're still having problems here. Pretty cool that earlier Brad did mention. Oh, geez. Okay. Pretty interesting stuff that he says. XRP is still the bedrock for everything that Ripple does. I know that some people on. Is there a way for me to mute this? I don't necessarily need to hear. I don't know if I can mute their music. Let me investigate this. Oh, here we go. All right. It looks like they're back. We're going to let them talk. Man, they should get me to run their audio. I figure this out for them. No problem.
Sorry for the technical glitch there and leaving you in the cliffhanger there. I think I was just going over the hot of the press earlier today that we announced an exciting new collaboration between Ripple and Aviva Investors to bring tokenized fund structures onto the XRPL. Against backdrop, I'm super excited to be here today with Alistair Sewell, Senior Investment Director at Aviva Investors, a firm managing over £250 billion in assets. Alistair, it's great to have you. To start
Marcus,
us off,
it's even better to have you. It's even better to have you back.
Awesome. It's good to hear you. To start us off, many of us, joining here in Europe will know Aviva Investors well. But for those elsewhere who aren't as familiar, could you briefly introduce yourself and the company?
I'd be delighted to. And look, I've got to say, what a privilege, what an honor it is to be here with you today. And speaking personally, I can say that I and Aviva Investors are absolutely delighted by this partnership we've entered into with Ripple. So Aviva Investors is the investment management arm of Aviva PLC, which is the UK's largest diversified insurer. It's a business whose origins stretch back more than 325 years. And today we serve over 25 million customers across the UK, helping them protect what matters, save for the future, and manage risk in an increasingly complex world. And when I think back, Marcus, over that history of Aviva Investors, that 325 years, I think we've seen a lot of change in that time. And one of my favorite historical examples is our early adoption of the telegraph. Now, you may remember January 1838, or maybe you don't remember January 1838, but that was when the very first telegraph was ever sent. And Aviva Investors' predecessor firms were among some of the earliest commercial users of this technology, using telegraphy to accelerate underwriting claims long before digital systems existed. And that's really important. That's a reminder that technological change is not new to our industry, and that we've been able to consistently embrace innovations in the past to make markets faster, safer, and more connected. And that very same mindset drives us today. We manage over $335 billion, 250 sterling in assets across public and private markets, and we are always looking for technologies that can help us improve how we serve our clients. And what we hope to do with you at Ripple is exactly that, a step into the future.
That's awesome and really impressive. Over 300 years of early adoption and embracing technologies. That's really exciting. Let's talk about the new collaboration between Aviva Investors and Ripple, which we're really excited to announce earlier today. So, Alistair, what's happening? What does it actually mean? And why is it important? Why should people in the XRP community care?
Well, there's a very simple reason why people in the XRP community should care, because this is a great example of how a traditional financial institution is embracing this new technology, is embracing the XRP ledger to move our operations into the future. What that means in specific terms is we are going to be working with Ripple to bring tokenized mutual fund structures onto the XRP ledger. So these are going to be yield-bearing tokens with highly stable value due to the high quality and the high stability of the assets backing them. These are a form of a yield-bearing token, which will essentially bring us as a traditional investment manager, as a traditional financial institution into the future. And this will enable faster settlement. It will enable automated lifecycle events. It will reduce operational frictions, and it will improve distribution models. And Marcus, I have to say, this isn't experimentation for its own sake. We recognize that financial markets are changing, the way they operate is changing, and we want our products to be able to integrate seamlessly with the digital ecosystem we're going to see in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. To double click a little bit on that, what problems specifically are you looking to solve by bringing your funds onto the XRPL? Can you share a little bit more about the use cases and sort of like the envisioned end state of the value created here for your stakeholders?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give you another real quick history lesson here, Marcus. And this time the history lesson is the mutual fund. Did you know the mutual fund was invented in 1924? That's 102 years. So that was 100 years that we've been using mutual funds in our industry. And look, they're a great product. They served investors really well. They do great things for people. But they're also 100 years old. I think we can do a little bit better than that. I think we can bring that technology forwards. What does that mean in specific terms and in direct answer to your question? Well, it means we can move settlement cycles for funds from days to seconds. It means we can eliminate some of the manual reconciliations which ultimately cause cost increases in funds. It means we can consolidate data flows into simpler and more accessible patterns. And also we can address one of the really important things, which is the limited mobility today of assets for collateral purposes. Now I realize collateral is getting a little bit technical in terms of financial market jargon, and maybe we can unpack that a little bit later. But this ability to move collateral faster is a real game changer for traditional financial institutions like Aviva Investors. And that's because we can move from slow settlement to near instant settlement. We can move to synchronized data. We can move to 24/7 trading, and we can move to moving our assets around in real time. That is tangible utility. That is tangible benefit for end investors.
It's really exciting listening to you. I just recall, hey, this is exactly the kind of reason why I joined this industry, and just this notion of seeing financial markets at large just operate much more productively. And so yeah, it's just exciting. This is now falling into place. Shifting gears a bit here, how easy was it for you to get internal buy-in for the initiative, and do you anticipate any challenges as things move forward? Appreciate Aviva Investors, pretty significantly sized company, and navigations, aren't always super simple, I could imagine.
No, absolutely. And change is hard. And I think we all recognize and we all understand that change is hard, but we also recognize that change is necessary. Change is necessary to accommodate the future. And also, frankly, being very candid here, is we recognize the risk of disruption. We see there is a scenario where financial markets move at scale to a digital basis, to a digital infrastructure. And in order to remain relevant, to be able to capture the opportunities that present itself, it's important that we change. But look, that change is hard, Marcus. You're absolutely right. And I know you've got a history on the traditional financial institution side as well. So enabling that change is difficult, right? And I think the way that we approach that is number one, Aviva Investors has a long history of innovation. We have innovated both in the past. I gave the example of the Telegraph, but more recently, we've done some really interesting stuff in the carbon removal market, for example. There are interesting things we focus on, and that innovation is part of our lifeblood and part of our desire to change. But to make it happen, it's about building messaging. It's about identifying the people internally who are willing to bear the torch, who are willing to engage with this new technology and build momentum, build buy-in, and actually make tangible change. And that doesn't just come from a single individual, that comes from many individuals from many different functions who come together, who see the potential, who see the roadblocks, who work to climb over those roadblocks. I think from a timing perspective, what we see is, as an institution, we see that this technology is maturing. And I think Brad used the example in his opening remarks about the entrepreneurial perspective and about where we are now. And I think he's absolutely right. We're at the point where the technology is maturing. We're at the point where we're seeing client needs evolve. We're seeing the point where the direction of travel for markets is very, very clear. And so we need to adapt to that. And by working with Ripple, we hope to do so. It's not going to be an easy path forward, so we're under no illusions here. We have legacy systems within our business. We need to interact with those. We have regulatory issues that we need to address, and we need to work with our regulators in a constructive and productive manner to enable these opportunities. And we need to scale the operational readiness. These are big ticket items, but we embrace the challenge, we rise to that challenge, and we can't wait to get our teeth into it. It is exciting, Marcus.
So look, first of all, congrats on getting this initiative so far internally, rallying the relevant support. And thank you for being a champion for the technology. And look, we at Ripple, we've always believed this movement is a collaborative movement, is working with the system to transform financial markets. And so it's important to have partnerships like this, building the relevant bridge, so to speak. Shifting gears again a little bit, I know this initiative ultimately envisions the promised land of sort of like enabling on-chain repo. And just quickly, for those less familiar with the term, think of repo as the essential daily plumbing of Wall Street. So sort of a platform to manage global financial liquidity needs and a way for institutions to either borrow cash by using their high-quality assets as collateral or lend cash to earn a secure return. So Alice,
here we go again. I'm on the side doing some digging. I want to find out what the TLV
Marcus,
is.
I'm going to continue. I think you were asking me about what we think about the on-chain repo market.
Exactly. Sorry, did I get lost there for a bit?
We lost you for 1 second, but that's fine. I was just going to say you did a great job of explaining what a repo is, and I can really only reiterate just how important repo is. It's the lifeblood of financial markets. It's really what drives almost everything that happens in financial markets. It may not be visible to many people, but it is there, and it is very significant. Did you know that the US repo market alone turns over more than $12 trillion every single day? That's a 12 with 12 zeros.
Trillion with a T.
12 trillion with a T, yeah. So when you think about a market that size, and if any efficiency gain, no matter how small it is, that means dollars. That means significant dollars. That means you can make real gains. You can make it more efficient. So what can you do with an on-chain repo? Well, you can do near instant settlement, and that crosses a huge barrier because currently today you'll have end-of-day netting processes, for example, which means intraday you may have less visibility than you'd like to on the collateral or the cash that's moving around on either side of that repo transaction. So having near instant settlement giving you that visibility on it means you can automate margining, for example. Your collateral can move in real time and you have far, far greater transparency. And look, this is a real life issue. This is a real concern for markets. I know many of the listeners to this are in the US or international, but back right here in the UK, just 3 years ago, we had real issues in our government bond market due to some unfortunate government policy decisions. And that was a time which just reveals how important it is to know where your collateral is, to know that you can move it fast to your counterparty if you need to, and you can react swiftly to a crisis event in markets. That's hard with conventional architecture. With a digital architecture, that becomes much, much easier, and this solves a whole raft of problems. So that's hugely important. The other interesting thing we can do with moving repo on chain is we can potentially change the cash leg for a tokenized money market fund. And that is a potential real game changer because it cuts out a lot of frictions that you have in the value chain for creating a repo today. I realize that's a little bit technical, but just think about it this way. That repo, which you described so beautifully at the beginning, Marcus, we can make it work simpler, faster, and with greater visibility. And that delivers tangible benefit, tangible utility to the entire financial system. We cannot underestimate how significant the gains are here.
Thank you, Alistair. And to state the obvious, very, very equally excited about the prospect and potential of this use case in particular. Maybe to just go even a layer deeper here, and also looking a little bit, further ahead. As we look into this on-chain future, how do you see the pool of eligible collateral evolving? I would say we're starting to see, with these like high-grade funds. But do you see a world where native digital assets like XRP or Bitcoins eventually find their way into these institutional grade on-chain repo structure as sort of like emerging forms of collateral as they mature further from here and more regulation like Genius Acts and whatnot fall in place? What's your viewpoint there?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of regulatory pieces that will need to change to get really mass adoption of this, particularly outside of the US. In the US, we've seen great progress on this, but in other markets, there are still some regulatory blockers, which it gets a little bit technical in the characteristics of the repo market. I think where we begin is probably with bonds, so high quality government bonds, treasuries and the likes, or what we have in the UK, we call them gilts, which are the equivalent of US treasuries. We see it starting there and then probably expanding to other assets. Because, as you know, Marcus, there are two things that really matter in a repo. Those are the counterparty, so the guy on the other side, the guy or the girl on the other side of the table that you're interacting with, and the collateral that you're moving. Now, if that collateral is really high quality, then you can come to an agreement where you have relatively little margin in it. But as you start moving into other types of assets, then you're going to want a little bit more margin to cover you for any risk that you get in there. So effectively, this is risk neutral. So you're almost indifferent to what the asset is, provided the amount of haircut taking protects you from the risk of that. So the implication of that is, as technology becomes more widely adopted, as familiarity increases, as adoption increases, then investors are more than likely to be looking at a wider collateral set, provided they're working with a high quality counterparty that they trust, and that the amount of margin that they have is sufficient to cover them for the risk of the assets. And look, we are moving into a world where we have traditional assets. We're tokenizing those so they become into a digital format. We have digitally native assets, which do include some of the assets you've already mentioned. So I think there is a multi-asset future where many different asset types will be accepted into these transactions at scale. And as we both agreed earlier on, repo is the lifeblood of financial markets. This is really where TradFi can meet DeFi in a truly exciting way.
Thank you so much, Alistair. Makes a lot of sense in terms of the haircut aspects and all that, and lots of room to grow and mature there for crypto native assets, so to speak. I like to end the question set with the following. Look, there's been a lot of talk about RWA tokenization for several years now. Perhaps can you give us your view on what stage you think we're at on the tokenized RWA journey today, and how do you see the future unfolding over the coming years?
Yeah, one word: growth. Growth, growth, and growth. I think you referred to earlier that there's about $360 billion or so of tokenized real world assets now. That's a big number, and that's a growing number. You think about tokenized money market funds, which is one of the areas that's really important to us. We see about $10 billion US worth of tokenized money market funds today. And those actually grew by about 120% last year. Marcus, that's a supernormal growth rate. That is really a supernormal growth rate. And that is because there's tangible demand, there's tangible market interest, and there's real world utility for investors who are using these products. So I think we're going to see growth. And what's underpinning that is the technology is now production ready. Regulatory clarity is improving. And these products like the tokenized money market funds I've referred to, they're gaining real traction. What's going to be important? I think interoperability is going to be important. I think collateral markets moving on chain are going to drive more growth, more demand. The evolution of distribution models will be an important factor. But more importantly, really the bottom line is that tokenization is what we're talking about today. Tokenization becomes the standard layer of financial market infrastructure. And that's where entities like Ripple have advantages and can execute on this. And this is where the XRP ledger can provide that layer that we as a financial institution can transact on and provide services to our clients.
Thank you, Alistair. Yeah, direction is certainly up and to the right. And look, just thank you, Alistair, for joining us here at the XRP Community Day. It's and sharing your thoughts and insight. And it goes without saying, we very much look forward to continuing our collaboration with you as the XRPL and XRP lead the charge in bringing TradFi assets on chain and unlock utility into the wider financial system. Yeah, wish everyone a good rest of the Community Day. And yeah, stay tuned for the next session on funding in the XRP ecosystem, which is now due. Thank you all, and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Oh, looks like that's the end of the call. I'm going to throw a poll up real quick. How did you guys feel about this live call? We don't need to listen to their music. I thought it was good on a personal level. I thought it was good. These guys could, and this is just my own criticisms, I guess, or it's constructive feedback. I think these guys could maybe work on some of their charisma, some public speaking. It doesn't help that for about 5 minutes, the audio just completely cut out and we had basically nothing to do but just sit there and listen. But did the poll go out? I don't see the poll on my screen. Let me just make sure. How did you all feel about this live call? It was good. Did not like it. I'm just gonna throw this poll out there. It's not letting me create the poll. Just so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. I click start poll and then it says an error has occurred. Try again. So okay, maybe the poll's not gonna work for now. Not sure what's going on here. It does seem like, at least on my screen here, this is like extremely behind. So maybe my YouTube interface is having some troubles. Anyways, I thought it was a good live. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more out of it. I think they, look, technical difficulties happen, but having multiple people with their mics cutting in and out like that, it kind of ruins the quality of the call, in my opinion. But I was happy to hear, Flare and Morpho got a shout out from Brad. I thought that was very cool. Beyond that, I liked that, we're talking a little bit about tokenization. I think tokenization of the stock market is going to be a very big deal. Being able to trade 24/7 is something I think is going, not only from the crypto perspective, even people that buy regular stocks. I mean, how often has it happened where you want to buy, but the market's closed. They close at 4:30 every day, and then you have to wait until the next morning to buy. And once the market opens, boom, the thing you wanted to buy shoots up 2-3%. And it's like, oh man, if I could have just bought this yesterday, you know, you could have taken advantage of the lower prices. That's happened to me probably over 100 different times on the stock market. Whereas with crypto, I mean, you could buy crypto at 2 in the morning. In fact, sometimes 2 a.m. Eastern time is the best time to buy crypto. I mean, if you're really trying to min-max your results, I've noticed a trend that it's almost always cheaper at night than it is during the day, at least here in the United States. Let's see. Well, some of you guys had some feedback here. User says, Andrew, I just wrapped and delegated all my Flare following your video. Dude, that's what I like to hear. By the way, guys, not financial advice. Just as a disclaimer, I'm happy that you guys are getting involved, but if for whatever reason, if things don't work out, at the end of the day, I didn't push the buttons, you guys did. Not saying that any of you guys are going to do that, but one guy did leave kind of a nasty comment the other day saying that because of me, he's down like $40,000 because he bought a bunch of Flare and then it went down. I mean, if you put 40K into Flare, that's pretty awesome. I mean, just hold on to that and it'll recover. But long story short, always do your own research. But I do think this is the way forward for us. I think the headphones kind of screwed my hair up. But we're going to get this thing started. I'm going to go grab my coffee. And it is 11 a.m. So now the regular show is going to start. So let me get to coin market cap. And I'm going to switch modes here back to my regular simple mode. This way I think it's a little bit nicer to look at. Give me 30 seconds. I'm going to grab that coffee and then we're going to be good to go. Here we go. All right, now we can kick off back to our normal programming here. Let me get my live chat back up. So that, Aman, that's really what I was kind of hoping for. Flare was saying that this was going to be their community day. Ended up being the Ripple event. Aman, do you know where we can find that space with Hugo? Because that's actually nothing against XRP. Love XRP, but I was kind of hoping that we'd be hearing from Hugo in that live session, but that didn't happen. I'm seeing some communication here on Twitter that Hugo's going on at 12 o'clock Eastern time, so that would be 1 hour from now. But I don't know where exactly they're doing that. So maybe we just hang out. It says right here, tune in to learn about XRP's next chapter. At 12:15 Eastern time, Hugo's going to be dropping some alpha. The question is, where do I go to find that? I wish it was kind of easier to define these things. Does that just mean that we just jump back into the Ripple Community Day? Let's just find this out real quick because I do want, that's really what I want us to hear. So I'm just gonna, okay, here we go. So how to join the event. February 12th, platform 3 live X spaces hosted on Ripple. Okay. So live Q&As. Okay, that's great. So it sounds like we might just jump back into, it sounds like we might just jump right back into that same space. Let's see here. So at 11 a.m., funding the XRP ecosystem. We could jump back into this. I didn't realize that there's going to be multiple sessions. Okay, here we go. This is what we're looking for. I got it highlighted in blue here. This is what we're going to jump back in for. We could jump back in for the other one if I run through our market update fast enough. We got the XRP Innovation Spotlight. The XRP Spotlight is community-driven session designed to showcase how projects are... The session will open featured projects, so it's going to be Flare. The session opens with ecosystem projects. So here we go, featuring Hugo Fillion. That's what we want to see. We also got some salmon. I don't know anything about squid, so we'll see how that goes. That's in 1 hour. So we'll run through our market update, and then I think all we have to do is just hop back into that room that we were in a second ago. I'm assuming we just go back to Ripple's Twitter, which we're at, but where's the join in link? Sorry guys, this isn't as intuitive as I would like it to be. So if I go to Ripple, I just want to make sure that we have this thing ready to go at 12:15. Okay, I think it's this. We'll jump back into this. I want to do the market update. We'll jump back in once I get through it. I'll try to be a little bit faster today, that way we don't miss too much. I just want to cover, right now we're looking at about a 4% slide market-wide in the past 24 hours. So we covered this yesterday on stream. I think most of us are probably on the same page here that at least for now the bull run is on hold. We probably have further down to go. Great news for those of us dollar cost averaging. And, you know, this is just one of those things where... You know, you put the daydreaming on hold and just focus on dollar cost averaging, accumulating tokens. Just about right now, everything market-wide is significantly on sale. So you almost can't make bad choices right now. It's not financial advice, of course. I'm still picking my top four, which is XRP, Flare, HBAR, and Quant. I know some of you guys like the other stuff. Canton, SHX, nothing wrong with those. If you guys want to buy them, buy them. I currently don't want to spread myself too thin, so I'm going to stick with what I know and what I'm good at. But everything is market wide on sale. I think Flare is probably going to continue going down a little bit, which is actually kind of good news for some of us. I mean, think about it like this. I know that bonuses, this is definitely not financial advice, but I know that for a lot of people working regular jobs right now, bonuses tend to go out sometime between January and April, depending on your company. If you get a company bonus, you could potentially bag up $1 million or more Flare just using your company bonus alone. That would probably put you in the forever bag territory. As you guys know, we're tracking all these different Flare DeFi opportunities. And in a few minutes, I'm going to take us to Flare.builders to show you guys what I found on stream. Just want to just briefly hit the market, though. Flare's at 92 cents. I believe HBAR was at... we're at 8.8 cents. So everything's basically down. Everything here is extremely on sale. I saw some movement in the comments I do want to touch on. We got Jay Evans good. Be careful of the XRP community. There are a lot of controlled opposition online, not giving you the 411. You need to be You need to comfortably navigate the right way once you obtain all this wealth. You know, I would say in general, the Twitter space, you know, I'm using it mostly because I want to get you guys the latest news, but I'm not really happy with what I see on Twitter as a whole. It seems like almost every post you see on Twitter is either unsubstantiated or in some cases some of these guys are just using ChatGPT and other AI to push out a bunch of I like to call it AI slop, which I think is really weird. I mean, by design, Twitter only lets you type out like 280 characters or something like that. It's like you can't write your own posts. You can only post a couple of sentences on Twitter. I just don't understand it. Like right now, if I go to Twitter, just about any post that we see that's crypto related, some of these guys are good, like King Karan's good. But you'll see some AI slop that's very easy to know. By the way, I don't know what the deal is. I don't follow any of these street fighting videos, but they just constantly appear in my feeds. I try not to I try not to watch that kind of stuff, but it is kind of tough not to. Gee, what is going on with Twitter? It makes it very difficult to navigate this space, and when we're trying to focus on the finances, when there's this crazy stuff going on here on Twitter. But point being, there seems to be a lot of AI slop on Twitter. I'm not really that happy with it, but for better or worse, when real news does come out, it seems to hit Twitter first. So I feel like it's a necessary evil that I myself have to navigate. But if you guys don't have to do that yourselves, I mean, Twitter is a cesspool of scammers and people that are either grifting or out to make a buck, right? So it just exercise caution anytime you see something on Twitter, especially when it comes to Ripple or Flare. If it's real news, it'll be on the real company websites like Ripple.net. Or whatever the Ripple website is. I know Flare.network is where we'll go for any Flare news. So just kind of be cognizant of that. And good morning, Steph. I didn't realize it would be an earlier start today. Yeah, sorry. I signed up for the what you call it, the daily call, not the daily call, but the community call. I asked one of the Flare employees if it was all right if I streamed it. They said yes. So I wanted to get that go ahead from them before I streamed it. So it was kind of like a last minute thing for me because they replied maybe like a half hour before it started. Once they said yes, I'm like, all right, we're good to go. I'm going to stream this live event, and we'll probably stream more live events like this going forward. Hopefully there's less problems with their microphones. That was kind of a buzzkill, but I do think it's good for us to get the news straight from the source when it's happening. So that's what's going on here on Twitter. Just a bunch of weird stuff that we really shouldn't be showing here. I'm not too happy with that. By the way, I'm going to Denver. I'll be in Denver Monday night. So this is going to be all new territory for me. I've never covered a live event in person before. So I will be going to the HBAR conference. If this goes well, I'd like to go to the Ripple conference in Vegas. Let's cross this hurdle first. Let's see if if I'm operational and I'm able to do this and do it right, that would make me feel a lot more confident about going to Vegas. Otherwise, in some cases, maybe it's just as easy to just cover the live stream from my house right here and then just kind of dial in. But we'll see. I'm going to see how this live event goes, and then we'll talk more about the Ripple conference after. But the HBAR conference is next Tuesday. I'll fly in there Monday. That does mean the streaming hours next week are going to be a little wonky. I'm going to be streaming from the hotel. That is absolutely going to happen. I just don't know what hours that will be. And then user says, don't blame me at all. Still learning about all of this. Appreciate all the information. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine, man. Learning is just as important as investing. I always tell people, don't buy something that you don't already believe in. You should do the research first. This stuff's not going anywhere, and if the markets or anything to be, if the trends here are anything to go on, I think we still got some time for all of us to start stacking big bags. Good morning, Pat. Don't worry, Pat. You didn't miss too much. I thought the live call wasn't too bad, but they had a lot of technical difficulties, so we ended up just kind of sitting around for a good 10, 15 minutes of it was waiting for them to figure out what's going on with their microphones. So is what it is. I'm gonna jump over to the Flare Builders site. Let me make sure. I got so many tabs open. I gotta close some of them out so I can navigate my own screens better here. But this is cool. I'm on the Flare.Builders site. This is a true website. You guys can go here. Plus, there's nothing to connect your wallet to on this, so don't worry about that. Aman says, Pete, my above post. I just want to see what Aman's talking about. Aman, which post above? I'll wait for you to reply, and then we can take a look at that. But what I wanted to show you guys, I know, especially Mill, I know that you're gonna like what we're about to see. So I think this is new. I don't remember seeing this before on Flare.Builders. So basically what this is, and I discovered this in real time as I was looking for the total value locked charts, which I couldn't find, but okay, so there's spaces with Hugo coming up too. Is that the one you're referring to? Because if it is, that starts at 12:15, and we're definitely going to jump into that one. I see there's some more comments. Let me just finish my thought here, and then I'll go back to the chat. So what I'm looking at right here is a simulation event. So easy peasy, we're already working with 50,000. Let's just stick it in. So this is a simulation event showing you that I don't know if you can change FTSO on this this particular tab, but this shows you a simulation of what's going to do better, wrapping or staking. So it has it set to AU, which is the most popular FTSO. If you were to delegate 50,000 Flare, your simulated reward is going to be 26 Flare every 3.5 days. Now you don't get staking rewards as frequently, so that's something that we have to understand. But it looks like within the same time period, staking would generate you 62 Flare tokens. So I kind of saw this one coming. This is kind of backing up what it is that I think is going on as far as wrapping versus staking. And it's what I want to show in my 6-month experiment. Basically, the gist is this, is that staking is way better than wrapping. I mean, you're getting almost 2.5 times the output with staking versus delegating. And what's cool about this, if you claim a staking reward, it doesn't go back into your staking pool. It goes back into your wrapped Flare. So what you could do as a way to really maximize your outputs, you could just put everything into staking. And then as you claim your staking rewards, it will automatically, as long as you're collecting it as wrapped Flare, will automatically go back into the delegation pools to continue generating rewards for you while you wait for your current staking contract to expire. And then you can consolidate your tokens and then basically hop back in. So that's kind of the mindset I've got. And it's cool that this little simulator kind of shows that. I mean, if you were to really put some serious skin in the game here, it looks like if you were to stake 500,000 Flare, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a whole lot right now. I think that's only going to cost you like $4,000 or $5,000 to get. You would be getting every couple of days 620 Flare. Now, bear in mind, the staking only pays out every 2 weeks, so don't think that you're getting 621 every couple of days. But what this is showing right here is that, you know, if you were to get a 260 flare epoch from wrapping, you would have gotten 621 flare from staking. So I am at the mindset right now that staking is probably the #1 thing to do with your flare tokens. We'll have to see how the collateral pools play out. I'll show you guys my data from yesterday. So we're up to February 10th. I haven't added today's numbers in yet. So far, my collateral pool has outpaced my wrapped flare. I have not yet gotten any stake rewards. Once we get that first stake reward, I think we'll have a good picture of where all this is going as far as rewards go. One thing to factor in for collateral, however, this is generating FXRP for me. So you got to think, okay, maybe it's not getting a crazy amount of XRP, but currently about 1 FXRP token is roughly equal to about 150 flare. So you want to, if you're going to look at the collateral pool, you kind of want to factor in that you're getting extra flare. The math might be hard to do. And you'd have to kind of do some manual work with that, but you could convert your FXRP back to flare, and this number would actually be higher. Now, Aman says that the staking claims might be available. Let's just pop in. I'm going to refresh my page and see if that's true. Maybe we just claim it in real time. Oh. All right. Well, look at this. It is available, you guys. We can do this in real time. So this is my wallet. We can see that I've got 51 here to claim. We may as well. Hold on. Let me take a quick screenshot of this. I want to screenshot my claim rewards. That way we have evidence. I want to put this in the evidence folder. Feb 11 stake. All right, cool. So we're going to claim that. Now I'm gonna wrap my rewards. I don't see any value in just having my tokens sitting there doing nothing. So this is actually going to get added to my wrapped flare pool. So as long as we all understand that, we should be good to go here. But that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to claim these as wrapped tokens. So boom, there we go. You guys just saw it in real time. I just claimed my stake. And then if I head over here, we should see I now have 50,105 wrap flare. So I'm going to update my spreadsheet here. Oh, that's not good. This should not be a... What's the deal with that? You piece of shit. Come on, you fucking retard. Whoops. Well, let's hope the YouTube censorship didn't hear that. There we have it. Okay. So I claimed a 53 flare epoch the other day. We just claimed a 51 flare stake reward. Seems kind of small, you guys. But that you know, this is all data. We're just, hold on. Why is that's not the screenshot I want? Here it is, 51.48. So we just took a 51.48 which would be, hold on, let's just do equals this plus that. Okay, so we've got 50. Let me make sure that's right. Trust but verify. All right, cool. That's correct. There's nothing to claim for delegation, so we can put a 0 there. Collateral pool. I guess we're here. We may as well just look at all of it, right? Which tab did I have the F assets on? So this is 50. Oh, I think it might screw the formatting up if I... Okay, so this one hasn't had any movement today. That's fine. And we may as well look at the Mystic rewards. Now, it's possible it just hasn't updated yet on the day. That's fine. We'll just record what we got. So we can see the stake reward kind of small. We'll see what happens over the next 2 weeks. That it does seem smaller than it should be, right? Yeah, I know you're right, Mill. It's just when I get frustrated, it comes out. But we'll just have to hope it didn't get picked up. If it ever comes to it, we could always just go to Rumble, and then I could literally say anything I want all of the time. Well, here's some cool stuff, you guys. Since we started this thing out, we've generated 200 flare. So I would say that right there is a win. And the current price of flare right now is 0.931. So we got, and then I think these haven't changed, so this is fine. Let's see how sorry guys, I have so many tabs open. My collateral pool is 0.14. I think I added the wrong bar here, so this should be 0.14. This should be 0.14. And this one should be 0.13. Okay. I screwed that up. Okay, that's right. XRP's price is, what is it right now? It's like 135 or something like that. 136. All right, look at that, you guys. We're join in. I'll show you guys how to turn 830 bucks into 816. Kidding, of course, but so right now the staking for this particular FTSO a little bit let down, but that doesn't mean that staking's not the right play. It could just be that Anchor had a bad week or two. Let's just see what the next one looks like, which should be, what's 14 days from the 11th? The 25th. Let's just highlight this box yellow so we know to look for it. We're going to see in the next 2 weeks, I'm expecting we're going to see way bigger than just 51. I think 51's a bit small for a staked reward. By a lot, actually. I was expecting this to be in the hundreds. So we'll see how that plays out. One more thing. I'm going to jump back over to the live and see if they got anything interesting going on. I really wanted to see the Hugo update, but one thing to notice, you guys, when I first started tracking the XRP rich list, To be in the top 1%, you needed 50,000 tokens. It's now down to 46,500. That's pretty substantial, and this is going exactly how I thought it would. That over time, to be in the top 1%, you're going to need fewer and fewer tokens. And I don't want to make this competitive, like it's, like it's a Johnson measuring contest, but the reality of life is that everything is a competition. There's only 100 billion XRP tokens. So anytime you get one token, you remove the potential for the other 8 billion people on Earth to get that token, right? So I don't look at this as a measuring stick of like, oh, I'm better than other people or anything like that. But what I do look at this at is it's in terms of value. Now, if you believe in XRP like the rest of us on this channel do, if we get that mainstream adoption, the closer you get to, these 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5% figures, this is going to be a very, very big deal on the other side of mainstream adoption. And really, I mean, guys, at $1.35 or whatever it was, you could very quickly rise these ranks. Most people are not really buying XRP outside of our community. There's only about 100,000 wallets that have 50,000 XRP or more. That's not a lot of people, especially considering that many of these big players at the top are institutions, or in some cases the exchanges that might have multiple XRP wallets. So like Mill is saying, I'm not saying to look at this as a way to measure against other people, but you do have to take into account that there's a finite supply. And so this is a good way to see how you measure up in the terms of value of XRP, because if you do believe this gets adopted, which I'm sure we all do, this lets you know. I'm trying to think of the best way to word it, but this lets you know what position you'll be in on the other side of price appreciation, I guess I'm trying to say, without it being necessarily a I'm better than you kind of thing. But the reality is that life is a competition, whether you want it to be or not. That not just in finance, but in many things. Anytime there's a scarcity of supply, people are in open competition with each other to secure that thing, whether it's an asset or, this even applies to like the dating market. Don't necessarily want to go down that one too much, but you guys are probably well aware of the sexual marketplace value of things. You could take this concept and apply it to anything. If there's one Lombardi Trophy, or if there's one Stanley Cup and there's 32 hockey teams, only one team can get that Stanley Cup. So, not financial advice, not relationship advice. I saw some comments that I didn't get to address, so I'm gonna scroll back up and look for them. Sir Aquas says, "Hi Andrew, loving the live streams. Great background for work stuff, multitasking. Appreciate that. Used to do that kind of stuff myself, so I'd be at work and I just have an earbud in listening to live. So I do this all the time, or at least I did back when I was working. I want to jump back. Oh, Mill says, what kind of yield are you getting percentage-wise? Oh, it looks like you guys are sidebarring it. So, okay, so I see Amon's talking about FXRP. I don't know what Amon's using. I'm using Morpho. I'm pretty happy with it so far. I've only got 300 FXRP into this thing, so that's really not a whole lot. Pretty small amount. And if I were to ramp this thing up, which I plan on doing, if I'm generating 30 to 40 flare a day, then yeah, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Kristen says, Flare is Battle Shout and XRP is the Fury Warrior. I would say XRP is a human warrior and Flare is the hand of justice. And that was a super specific WoW Classic analogy. If you'd have to play WoW Classic to know what that one meant. But if you did, you know what I'm talking about. So Mill says holding 10K XRP for life likely means a life of freedom. It'll just take time to realize that. Yeah, it's going to be some time. You guys got to think the powers that be have been trying to shut XRP down for the past 10 years. We're only finding out about some of it now. I mean, quite literally with the Epstein files coming out. I think there's a ways to go. I don't think that, just because the Epstein files are coming out that we just automatically win and XRP goes to the moon. I think this thing is going to end up being a very bloody battle. XRP will eventually win. You just have to really stick this thing out for the long term. I want to jump back to Twitter. They might have more going on in the Ripple call. One way or another, I want to make sure that we're well positioned to get Hugo's update because that's what I really wanted to hear. I'm going to jump back into this thing and just see if they're still talking. Okay, so at least for now, they've got the music playing. Is there a way for me to mute this so I don't have to listen to that? Because I wouldn't mind knowing when they get back into action here, but I don't necessarily want to listen to their background music for the next half hour. There's supposed to be... Let's see if there's a live chat. There was supposed to be someone speaking right now. At least the Ripple site made it seem that way. How awful would it be if this elevator music is copyright? I don't think that it would be, but that would piss me off if it is. Can I mute this dude? I don't know if I can. Is there any option to mute? We'll pop back in and out. If there's no one talking, there's no reason for us to be listening to elevator music. Let me clean up some of my tabs here. We can look at that again tomorrow. Well, while we wait for the 12:15 announcement from Hugo, there were some things I saw. I don't know how deep we go into this one, but I did save this post because I actually listened to this before it made its way to Twitter. But just be careful. There's people out there bad-mouthing XRP. You got to ask yourself why. They're almost always promoting another coin. Let's just listen.
I've been buying XRP since 13 cents.
Be careful with some of these Miami crypto influencers. If they're bad-mouthing XRP to promote another coin, if you do buy that coin, just make sure that you get your complimentary rug that comes with it.
I've been buying XRP since 13 cents, right? So I saw XRP go from 13 cents to 350. I saw it go from 350 back down to 25 cents and from 25 cents back to all-time highs. Like, I'm not saying you can't make money with it. What I'm saying is I don't think that what they're selling people, which is the idea of becoming the chain for the banks, is going to work. There's other people competing. There's other chains competing. There's other businesses competing for the same desire to replace Swift. There's other chains that are ready with better tech that aren't fucking 15 years old, that aren't 10 years old, that are literally supersonic speed, compliant, regulated, traced.
Would Ethereum be an example of that?
Kita,
okay.
There you go, Mr. Rugg himself. So none of these other coins that he's talking about are getting dinner at the White House with the Trump administration. I mean, you just have to follow the real news, you guys. Brad Garlinghouse said it in the call earlier this morning that they were literally just at the White House this week. I don't even know what KEDA is. This guy has been notorious in the past for getting his own audience into pump and dumps. So I avoid stuff like this, but it did catch my eye because this podcast happened, I think, either yesterday or 2 days ago. And I've listened to Fresh and Fit for other reasons, but sometimes they have crypto people on, and not the biggest fan of this guy. But for that reason, anyone that really knows what Ripple is, you have to ask yourself, what do they have to gain by bad mouthing it? It's almost always a diversion to get someone to buy into something else. And sure enough, they're talking about KEDA. I mean, KEDA is a low market cap coin. That's already a bad sign. And they've only been around for what, a year? So they've been around since March. They're not going to surpass XRP. I mean, you can take that to the bank. I'm not buying it. I don't know what they do or what they don't do, but there's a lot of this stuff going on. I don't know. It just kind of bothers me. Obviously, Brad Garlinghouse at Davos. I mean, come on, guys. Writing is on the wall. You guys already know this stuff, but I saved this tweet. Just wanted to kind of address it real quick. Further on down the road, Benjamin Netanyahu is currently in Washington, D.C. I want to be careful going down this road because I know that not everybody here is probably on the same page politically, but this to me is not a good thing. I don't want America going to war with Iran. I don't care that it could help the reverse carry trade happen faster. I would rather just wait this out and let Ripple and the team pitch adoption to the major banks and have it go that way. If we do have war with Iran, it will probably cause an oil spike, which could potentially trigger the reverse carry trade in Japan. But then at what cost? It seems like we're always at war with someone somewhere in the world. Last time I checked, Iran could not be further away from the United States. I'm not worried about Iran doing anything to us, so I already know the answers to this. I know why we're going, but this is the kind of stuff I don't like to see. And it really kind of, it makes me a little bit pessimistic for the state of the country when we're going to war on behalf of another country. I just really don't like it. But this is the news. If Netanyahu's in DC, it's almost all but written in stone at this point that something's going to happen with Iran within the next couple of days. So this is breaking news. He just got into DC last night. Keep an eye out for any news coming out of Iran. You guys know me. I'm anti-war. I don't like the idea of American soldiers going out and, potentially losing their lives. I mean, in war, lives are lost. But then even if you do survive the war, coming back with, you got lifelong injuries, PTSD, the VA is not supporting you. I don't want to necessarily go too much deeper into that because I know it's kind of a hot topic for different reasons, but I'd rather see our American teenagers, getting into trades or getting into, STEM degrees than to go fight for the bankers. It's just my personal opinion. So those are the tweets I had. We got a little bit of time here before Hugo goes on. So let's see if there's some other topics we can dig into. I kind of got through at least some of the things I wanted to show you guys today. We had the updates from Brad Garlinghouse this morning, and then we kind of went through this spreadsheet. We updated it, and we kind of talked about the rich list for a little bit. So I'm kind of current. We can definitely open this up to Q&A. We've got about a half hour before Hugo's supposed to go on, so that we'll just have to find something to do for a half hour. Thanks, FRD. I try not to go down the political route too much, but the reality is that everything is intertwined. And my stance, I'll just put my line in the sand. I'm America first. I want what's best for Americans. That doesn't mean I want to go to war with anyone, but it does mean that I want what's best for our American citizens. And I know I have a lot of friends that are veterans from the military, and some of the things they've told me, if they didn't have to experience those things, I would be happy with them not having had to experience it. And so I think about the next generations coming up. If we can avoid them walking down those same paths, I'm in favor of that. So that's my position. I don't think that we should be getting involved in global conflicts. And to some extent, you have to. There's certain situations where you have to, but in the case of the Middle East, I've just never bought into the idea that, some guy wearing sandals all day with an AK-47 is somehow a threat to us 10,000 miles away. I just never bought into it. It logically doesn't make sense. The only way it could make sense is if somebody were to bring them here. You know what I mean? Like, how does a dude with sandals cross a 5,000 mile wide ocean unless someone with the technology and the capability to do so makes that happen? So you just pull at these strings and you eventually get the answers. Don't necessarily know if this is the right medium for that, but it's definitely something that bothers me quite a bit. I'm going to hop back into this Ripple thing. Let's just see if there's anything going on.
Full.
Oh, I do hear someone speaking.
Yeah, and I would just add on the global network or nature, it is global, right? Like so we have ETFs in the U.S. and Europe. We're seeing very strong growth in both of those regions. I think APAC is moving in positive directions on crypto, some in regulated products, some outside. But the big picture theme to keep in mind is that sort of this idea of regulated products opening up the institutional investment community to crypto is happening on a global basis, and also that it takes a long period of time. Coming from my ETF background, ETFs tend to scale not over 1 or 2 years, but over 3, 5, and 10. And I think that's going to be the case here in crypto as well. You even take something, we were so excited about the ETF approvals that started 2 years ago, but even Bitcoin ETFs were only recently approved on wirehouse platforms. And we're moving forward to get other assets approved there as well. So this is a long-term trend. It is happening globally. I think the U.S. is probably the leader, but Europe is robust as well. And there are portions of Asia on the regulated product side that are coming along as well, although there's more derivative and offshore activity there on a relative basis than other regions.
And I would just jump
Yeah.
back in to build on that. I think to Matt's point, XRP it is a global asset. When we look, we estimate that only about 15% of secondary trading volume last year occurred on US exchanges, and a third of that volume was on Binance and in exchanges all over the world. So, XRP is actually very global.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think what's interesting about the kind of the global marketplace that I was talking about earlier is that, there's a lot of demand for, offshore trading moving onshore in the United States for the reason of, well, access, liquidity, and kind of the robust regulatory standards that we have here. And I think, what's interesting about the commodities derivatives exchange portion of this is that In the United States, it's actually illegal for U.S. citizens to go and trade derivatives offshore unless they're registered as a foreign board of trade. But it's very common for those throughout the world to trade on U.S. exchanges. And I think that's what's an interesting development we've seen, is that we've seen a lot of international sort of come to the United States because they are worried about the platform risk offshore. And I think it's, since we're dealing with, global commodities now, ultimately, that, people want to kind of custody their assets here. They want to invest in products here because they want that regulatory clarity and that certainty that, the U.S. markets provide. And ultimately, binomial is a big part of. Ray, you highlighted the kind of the general listing standards that came out, which has been a huge improvement, obviously with the ad hoc basis of kind of going one by one. And I'm happy to say that binomial has been a big part of that. And I think, we were the first to list the XRP futures. And so hopefully, both Grayscale and Bitwise used that listing date as a part of getting that over the line. But we're going to continue to do that with, future products, and kind of happy to be a big part of that movement.
Amazing. I guess zooming out and just capturing some of the key themes there. Crypto markets generally traded globally. We've seen with various jurisdictions adopting crypto, the access geographically has increased over time. With the likes of new investment products, whether it's derivatives, whether it's different types of investment products like ETFs and ETPs, access keeps improving over a period of time. I'm wondering what you guys think about the likes of Vanguard opening up retirement accounts as a form of access to allow crypto ETFs. Do you think that brings in a new wave of passive investment? Do you see that growing? Do you still see some challenges? Like, how do you guys view that space and access?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in here. I mean, all of that is inevitable. I think the right way to think of institutional crypto adoption or its expansion from traditional retail base to a broader segment of the population is a series of successive waves. Retirement accounts are one of those waves. We're still extremely early in that. I don't even think we've begun to feel the impact of that. But over time, I think crypto will have a role in essentially all portfolios. And the persistent bid that you get from retirement accounts will be a major driver. It will drive down volatility, and it will increase price over time. So that's going to happen. It is many years in the future, but there are all these successive waves, right? There is the financial advisor wave. There is the broker dealer wave. There is the endowment wave. There is the sovereign wealth fund wave. There is the central bank wave. There is the retirement wave. These are all moving on their own time schedules, but they're all additive. And importantly, for the people on this call, they're all starting effectively at zero, right? So there's only upside in terms of the growth of crypto and retirement accounts. And I think that's the way to conceive of it, is like a series of successive waves that are slowly building over time.
I agree. I think that, as Matt said, the opportunity is massive. We're basically at zero right now. There's, I think, less than 0.5% of US wealth assets are allocated to crypto, and that includes ETFs and DATs. I think the opportunity is massive as it relates to retirement and tax advantaged accounts, because they are very structurally aligned with the return characteristics of crypto. You have a long time horizon, meaningfully appreciated assets. And now we live in a world where crypto is income producing. So, investing in crypto products in an IRA is, to me, a no-brainer. And I can tell you that I own a lot of my crypto assets in a tax advantaged way.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting, and it's a very exciting development. Even though, we're on the commodity side here, I think that having open access and easier access is beneficial for everybody. The way that we look at it is that is mostly around the interplay of kind of the spot ETF side and those and their ability to be traded in brokerage accounts, versus the kind of the raw commodity side that we support, and kind of how they, play with interact with each other. I think that's really important. I think, it's, maybe every, mom and pop doesn't quite understand exactly when they go to execute and buy an ETF where that liquidity is coming from. But ultimately, they want to get a good price, and they want to be able to not pay a lot to do it. And I think, that's a really important part here. And, being able to bridge the kind of the ETF world with the commodity world that we have on our side of things, helps price discovery, build liquidity, and ultimately trust in the system that people can kind of get in and out as they see fit, but ultimately just grow liquidity overall.
Amazing. riding waves, creating ripples. I guess just shifting gears a little bit. Since launching in mid-November last year, US spot XRP ETFs have surpassed 1.2 billion in assets with consistent net inflows, even during broader market pullbacks. Ray and Matt, do you think since you've launched last year, like what has changed in terms of XRP? How have you seen flows come in on your XRP spot ETFs? What is some of the thinking there when it came to launching XRP products?
So for us, XRP is a long-standing, structurally important asset. There is a very strong follower base, and it is, by all extents, a battle-tested blockchain. And it's an asset for which there is clear demand and enthusiasm. And ownership through an ETF allows investors, institutions to own the underlying through a structure on which they can get leverage through their normal channels.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. It's also an asset that is backed by a blockchain that's really unique, has unique characteristics. And I think when you're early in the development and rollout of a majorly disruptive technology like blockchain, having different approaches is really important. So it's, as Ray mentioned, an asset with staying power, an asset with a really dedicated group of supporters, and a really differentiated technology that it's easy to imagine the real world applications of. And at this stage of blockchain's growth, that's a great product to have, and we're excited to have it in the market.
Amazing. And then, Mike, could you tell us a little bit more about how do you think about stablecoins and XRP as margin collateral on various venues and derivative platforms? How does Binomial think about it? How do you think about it? What does it mean for traders and institutions, and how they look to trade in the future?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think the important thing that we think about is people have assets on their balance sheet, and they want to put them to use where they can. So, for example, let's talk about DATs for a second. Any XRP DATs are going to have a lot of XRP on their balance sheet. Now, there could be certain things that they want to do with that. They may want to tap into additional financing. They may want to maybe they want to, get into, CapEx spending, something like this. What they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to need to put that asset down somewhere and do something with it. And I think what we can do here at Binomial is that putting down those digital assets to either risk manage, gain leverage is really important. And I think just for the broader ecosystem in general. So think about it this way. For robust lending markets to kind of come into fruition, you need a lot of risk management tools. And what a lot of those financiers and lenders do is they'll take assets and then they'll risk manage them via options or hedging, whatever they want to do. And if you can't do that in a capital efficient way, it becomes very expensive, and ultimately they pass those on to the borrowers themselves. So I think that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive down borrowing rates via people being able to put their native collateral at a clearinghouse so that they don't have to, borrow against that and put down dollars, which is very complicated and is very common for the derivatives industry today is just use US dollars. Obviously, you can go OTC, but unfortunately then you have, counterparty risk, and there's does and all sorts of fun, complicated things and legal agreements you have to get yourself into to be able to achieve that. And so in a centralized, exchange and clearing model that we operate, we're trying to make it as seamless as possible for everyone to use the digital assets that they have to be able to risk manage and get the leverage they need for whatever kind of trading opportunities they need, all the way from speculators, hedgers to people doing lending and financing to everybody. On the second part of that is for the stable coins, is I think that we see stable coins take off as just a better method of payment. And I think that there's a contingent from what we have seen on the crypto native side where the abandonment of US dollars to some degree, where you can't move it very quickly. Your bank accounts can get shut down, everything else that we've seen in the past. And so people are really starting to use stable coins, and being able to accept it natively without having to use an on or off ramp is really important. And so, Binomial Exchange is looking to accept RLUSD very shortly as a way for margining and collateralizing trades. And so we're really excited to be on the forefront of that and kind of push this way forward.
Absolutely love to see stable coins on Binomial at some point. I think to bring us home, into the home stretch, and question for everyone, every one of you: what are you most excited to see in the next wave in the larger XRP ecosystem, both from a technical and product perspective? And where do you see participation from retail and institutional investors transitioning into?
Sure, I'll take a shot from a 30,000-foot view, which is that I think the market doesn't realize how big a deal both stablecoins and tokenization are, and they're going to find out over the next 12 months. And so, seeing XRP build its case on the stablecoin side, seeing it participate in the broader RWA market, I think is going to really open some eyes. So, really excited about that. In terms of how institutions are interacting with that, they are all looking for ways to invest in those trends, particularly with market prices where they are. So I know our team is out talking to investors every day about XRP and its emerging role in those ecosystems. So I'm just excited to see that play out over the next few quarters.
I am as well. And again, we have a strong, vibrant community. I think it generally, from a blockchain and crypto perspective, there's a lot of cases where product market fit has kind of lagged the price sentiment and the narrative. We think that that's going to change over time. You have, as Matt said, a battle-tested blockchain that has a real opportunity to capture market share as we see the proliferation of these use cases. And ultimately, I think a lot of the excitement comes just from the demand. So, as we talk to investors around the country, enthusiasts, stakeholders, it's one of the broadest communities, and there are a lot of diehard fans. And the sales team was just telling me that, anecdotally, advisors are constantly asked by their clients about XRP. And in some cases, it's the second most talked about asset in this community behind Bitcoin. So, we're all very excited.
Yeah, same here. I think from Binomial's point of view, I think there's kind of two exciting things that we want to talk about. Is one is obviously supporting more XRP products like options. I think it's be very exciting for people to potentially create different yield strategies with their XRP portfolios, and be able to expand kind of and support whatever the blockchain has there in terms of real world assets. Listing those on derivatives on those would be, I think, a really exciting development. But ultimately, stablecoins and specifically RLUSD is a very exciting development. Every day when we talk about clearing and settlement and 24-hour trading, the movement of money is always the biggest problem. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with different with different brokers and banks that are worried about, well, how do we risk manage over the weekend when people are trading but we can't move money. Stablecoin solves this problem, and all the USD does specifically. And so what we would like to see and what we're really pushing for is 24/7 trading and settlement, and stablecoins will be the backbone of that, because as it stands right now, there is no other way to do it. And I think that's going to really push the industry forward, and I think it's going to be a really exciting development that we're happy to be a part of.
All right, amazing. So just to summarize our entire session today, thank you guys for amazing insights. To quickly summarize, not afraid of a little wall. We've seen a lot of cycles. Access continues to improve, whether it's jurisdictional products, different types of instruments. That continues to improve the way users are accessing digital assets today on battle-tested blockchains like XRPL, wide range of use cases. Everything continues to improve. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat today. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. XRP community, I hope you enjoyed this session. Next up is the EMEA Innovation Spotlight. Hang tight. Amazing stuff to follow. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us on. An honor to get to participate and talk to this community.
100%. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
All right, I bet they're gonna put that music back on. We'll probably have about 10 minutes until Hugo and the team go on. So let's see, what can we talk about for 15 minutes? There's the music. I'm gonna pull out of this thing, at least for now. We'll jump back into it around 12:10. We might have to listen to the music for a few minutes. I'm talking with Aman right here in the chat. If you guys know of a wallet that can connect to Flare assets that's not Bifrost, I'd be interested in that, because I would like to increase my positions on Morpho and also Firelight when that goes live without necessarily having that on Bifrost. For the time being, I'm fine with using Bifrost, but the thing is, I don't want to have to constantly be worried about having my phone connected to Wi-Fi. That is that's the main reason why hot wallets are something I try to not to use. But unfortunately, the Bifrost wallet is from a user experience, it's so good. I just don't like the fact that it's always online. If there was a way to have a Bifrost cold wallet, that would be something I could be interested in, but unfortunately that's just not the way it is. So I'd be happy to hear from you guys if that's a thing. Otherwise, I'll just keep using the Bifrost for now. I'm gonna increase my position in Mystic because I don't want to miss out on it. So I've got 300 in right now. I'm going to be increasing that to 800. Because, you know, as much as this experiment's fun, I like doing it. I'm looking at it like, well, I could be getting more than I'm getting right now. Why not put my money where my mouth is? Coinami is an exceptional hot wallet. Doesn't hold all the coins, but holds many of them. And then Amon has a Tangem. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a pre-record video and I'll ask the question there. It seems that the pre-records get way more viewership than the live streams do, which kind of makes sense. I mean, not everybody has an appetite for live streams, but that could be a good way to get that question out there. Oh, I forgot. I have to tell you guys this. If you would like, I made the Discord yesterday. I should definitely invite you guys to it. If you guys want to join the Discord, I'm gonna pin that. Join that. This will be it's bare bones, you guys. There's basically nothing in it right now, but this will at least get things started, and then this will give us somewhere where we can hey, what's going on? We already got two. We could use this Discord as a way for us to stay in contact even outside of the stream, and then we could do some cool stuff with this. For example, we have the voice channels down here. An idea that I was floating last night, I was just kind of thinking about it. I mean, some of you guys are very active in here, and you have a lot of really good insights. I thought having like a group chat or like a fireside chat, whatever you want to call it, could be some pretty good content. If some of you guys were open-minded to being on the channel, you could choose whether or not you have your camera on. You could have an alias if you want to stay anonymous. It's totally up to you guys. So I wanted to float this idea out here that, you know, I know when I'm driving in my truck, if I'm going on a road trip, sometimes I like to just put on, you know, a channel or a podcast that might be an hour to an hour and a half long of just hearing people talk about things that I'm already interested in. And I think that could be something cool for our own audience here. And then I have this voice channels here. So instead of having to set up a Zoom call or something like that, here in the voice channel, we'd have unlimited time. We wouldn't have to cap it at 40 minutes. And Discord tends to interface better with hardware than Zoom does. So it'd be higher quality audio, higher quality video for those of you that do want to go on camera. Just an option out here. I'm going to continue advertising this. We'll see if I advertise it on the main channel. I think to some extent, maybe I want this to be a little bit more exclusive. So I might make this a subscriber thing only, and maybe make a post in the community tab of my own channel and say, hey, this is a subscriber only channel. If you'd like to join. I want to see, I would like to see if, I'll be honest, guys, I've never ran my own server before, so I don't know how to, I'd like to do it where I have to approve an invite, I think is what I'd like to do, but I'll be honest, guys, I don't know how to do this stuff. Oh, here we go. People can only join your server directly with an invite. Let's see if there's a way for me to... Maybe we do an apply to join. Let's see. Add questions to your application. People don't join your server until you're approved. Are you a subscriber? This might be a good way to do it, just so that we don't get random people joining that might have bad intentions. Then I'll just approve people that join. Looks like we already got 6 of us here. Welcome to the party. And sweet. Okay, this is cool. So we'll see if we can kind of work with this, and we'll expand it over time, make it a little bit more pretty. But this could be a cool way for us to kind of stay in touch even when we're out and about. Like I could message you guys while I'm at the gym or something like that. Just kind of a cool way to keep the community engaged. So, and then like I was saying, if any of you guys ever want to do like a collab video where we just sit and chat, and we could have some fun with that. So I'm gonna switch back over to Twitter and see what we've got going on. They might, it's probably still the corny music, but I want to make sure we're already in here before Hugo goes on, just so that we don't miss anything. So I apologize for the corny music. Oh, I hear someone talking. Hey, he just joined. I just saw him join right there in live, real time. I'm gonna switch my scene selection up here so that we see everything better. Start throwing some hundreds out there. Aman would like to see a collab with Crypto. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm just gonna say Crypto and some other FLR influencers. I think that'd be cool. I'm very open-minded to it. I'm gonna write a message in the Discord so it's a little bit more private. So I wrote that in private. Oh, God damn it. Sorry, Mill. I just cursed. You told me not to do that. I just shared my screen while I wrote that, so I guess whatever. I doubt anyone's jumping into my stream at the 2-hour and 13-minute mark in the live playback looking for gossip, so... but yeah, if you guys are in the Discord, in the general chat, I put some of my feelings out there of how a certain conversation went recently. just gonna wait a few minutes for them to start. I don't necessarily want to talk over Hugo, so we're just kind of hanging out here. We're just hanging tight, you guys. Nothing to really see at the moment.
Hello and welcome everyone to the XRP Innovation Spotlight panel. This is something that I am extremely passionate about. So happy to be here. I really appreciate Ripple, the team at RippleX, and the team at XRP All Commons for making this entire day possible. But here we are going to highlight some projects that are interacting and developing different products and networks that are interacting with the XRP ledger, and of course a couple of them that I myself am very passionate about. Get to moderate today as well with my my co-moderator Zophie, and so there's just I hope everybody enjoys this as much as I know I will, and I'm happy to be here. Sophie, go ahead, please jump in.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Really excited to be here and co-moderating this session with you, Death Ranger. So my name is Jofi, and I'm leading community engagement at XRP Commons. Just a few words about Commons in case you don't know about us yet. We support builders on the XRP ledger through free development trainings and through our incubator program, the Aquarium, where we are currently running our 8th cohort focused on social impact, with founders participating literally from all over the world. And we are also hosting regular builder office hours where developers can get technical support who are building on the XRP ledger. And the next one will take place tomorrow. So if you want to tune in, you can follow us at XRPL_Commons to stay updated. But without further ado, let's get into today's session. So we are focusing on projects expanding real XRP utility, how this will work exactly. So in the first 30 minutes, we will hear from 3 projects, and then we will open the mic for other ecosystem projects to share briefly what they are working on. So let's kick it off with Robert, CEO of Zaman, which you already might be familiar with, but Zaman is one of the most widely used self-custody wallets in the XRP ecosystem. So hi, Robert. And my first question to you is, when people utilize Zaman, what do they exactly use XRP for? What does real usage look like? And if you can also share maybe some examples and statistics.
Yes, thank you. I also hope everybody is having a nice XRP community today. And also thank you to Ripple for putting this together. So I'll share some context with numbers before I jump into the question. So Zaman's been around for over 5 years now. There's never been a security breach. And we're kind of like this standalone product in the XRP ecosystem that everybody kind of knows or everybody uses, etc. Our users manage 1.5 million wallets, which hold over 2.1 billion XRP. collectively. So those are some of the baseline numbers. Last year, we averaged 280,000 monthly average users, peaking around 400,000. And when people use Saman for XRP, we've seen it for every single year. Payments, so sending, receiving XRP, that's by far the biggest use case and takes the biggest share of transactions. And we're also seeing a big shift in what's happening in our XApp ecosystem. So for people who aren't aware, in the traditional crypto term is decentralized apps. In Saman, we have XApps, so Saman X XRP apps, and you're able to engage with the ecosystem in the wallet without needing to leave the wallet. And we're seeing a very big uptrend for DeFi that started last year, and it's still continuing. To give some numbers around that as well, then last year XApps were opened more than 10 million times. And another one that was mentioned in the earlier sessions, etc., the one is that we might be in a crypto winter. The one thing that I love the XRP audience for is that, and what we also see from our data is that people stay on the chain. There's a lot of activity with those DeFi products going into RLUSD, etc. On off ramping volumes, like off ramping volumes aren't spiking. So people really like to stay on chain and they like to interact with the XRP ledger. And Saman for more than 5 years has been the place to do it.
That's very impressive. And you touched on this a bit, but can you expand a bit more about maybe the user behavior change you're seeing as XRP expands beyond payments?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen some great amendments in the past years, and I think there are still some in the pipeline and some up for voting. The big shift that happened in 2025 was yield products started popping up, and that's been a question that our audience has asked us for. I mean, for years. Again, we have our support team is something that we're extremely proud of. I'm personally extremely proud of. Last year, we had tens of thousands of tickets. 99.99% were closed within 24 hours. So I always get the scoop from our support team. And yield products are essentially, since again, with what I earlier pointed out, that people tend to stay on chain. They don't really want to leave from their XRP positions. So the logical thing to do is, how can I earn yield with my XRP? So 2025, for some reason, was the year that different projects started popping up and trying to breach that cap and trying to bring an answer to that. So I think that's the big one, other than payments. And I also think that as the ecosystem grows, the DEX is becoming more and more liquid and more interesting assets are popping up. I think RLUSD is a big one. And I think our user behavior, by far the biggest change in the past year and still continuing, was again yield products. People want yield and they're voting with their money.
That that is really interesting, and of course, like yield being something that has just been something that has been being talked about in the ecosystem and the community for a long time, and is only being more of a popular topic. From you guys in Zaman, what are you guys doing to position yourself so that you can garner the greatest opportunities for those who would be interacting and utilizing the wallet to interact with these yield
Yeah,
products?
that's a great question. I personally have the experience of working together with both my co-speakers, so Hugo from Flare and Fig as well. Again, from Saman's point of view, we are kind of like the signing layer for the ecosystem, and if people are using the XRP ledger, then most likely they're using Saman. So we are working quite closely together with all of the yield platforms. For example, Saman 5.0 introduced virtual assets that was targeted for Flare's smart accounts. So essentially enabling people to earn yield on their XRP with a few clicks using Flare's technology. So essentially your yield earning XRP will still be displayed on your home screen. We're making that user experience a lot smoother for users who are looking for those yield opportunities, in a sense that you can literally access these yield apps, yield opportunities from your home screen. You don't need to go digging around in the XApp list, etc. We also, again, I mean, the process to get listed into our XApp is quite thorough. So in our feedback rounds, I also think that we've been able to give a lot of great feedback for different yield platforms that has made their product better, made our user experience more smoother, and I think in the end everybody wins.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And of course, Zaman being a project and a wallet that I've utilized for many years myself, super passionate about. I really appreciate you being able to come up and speak to us today about the products you guys are building over there. I'd really like it to go over actually to Hugo. And Hugo, thank you very much for being here today. Flare, of course, arguably, in my own opinion, the largest layer 2 interoperable network interacting with the XRP ecosystem today. And of course, you know, FXRP being something that's highlighted as this wrapped version of XRP being utilized on the Flare network. You know, you guys have released a lot of updates and a lot of changes recently trying to you know, this promote this FXRP and this ability to lend and borrow this the XRP on the Flare network. You know, from you guys, what is it that people should really understand that the Flare network is providing for XRP and the XRP Ledger ecosystem? And you know, some of the things that you guys have explored from an ability to have a smooth interoperable experience occur.
Hi, hope you can hear me. Thanks so much for having me, and thank you to Ripple for putting this day together. So, you know, let's just frame Flare because there are a lot of listeners, some of whom may not be familiar with Flare. So, Flare is an institutionally focused smart chain where XRP can interact with both DeFi primitives and TradFi use cases that aren't available directly on the XRP ledger. Think of Flare as working hand in glove with XRP and giving additional huge utility to both XRP and, most importantly, the XRPL. So, you know, right now on Flare, you know, we have lending protocols, both more traditional lending protocols like a compound fork, which is called Kinetic. And recently, in the last couple of weeks, we have Mystic, powered by Morpho, which is a newer modular lending protocol with isolated risk. This is the type of lending protocol that is favored by institutions. With DEXs for liquidity and both liquidity and, most importantly, the ability to liquidate lending positions. We have Enosis's CDP product protocol, which allows people to directly mint stablecoins against an XRP holding. And we have perps, DEXs, and prediction markets. And these are kind of core building blocks around how we think about making XRP have yield and be a collateral asset. So those are the core building blocks, and these type of building blocks are present in most ecosystems. But then we have Firelight, which is a new foundational DeFi primitive built to benefit the entire space using XRP. And it offers the ability to stake your XRP to earn yield by providing cover to blue chip DeFi protocols across many chains. And this is a market with a vast potential size, and it offers organic on-chain yield for XRP. So Firelight, in existing on Flare, will further propel our ecosystem through driving demand for XRP and demand for borrowing and lending against XRP in order to participate in Firelight. So it's kind of like a core plank to how we think about spinning up the kind of demand flywheel for XRP. So to tie this ecosystem together, we also have on-chain vaults that allow users to put their XRP to work within the Flare ecosystem without having to directly engage with the DeFi protocols themselves. And looking ahead, we have two, you know, really interesting things. The first is, as Robert said, smart accounts. of which Zaman is one of the first partners. And this will allow XRP users to access Flare by making transactions directly on the XRPL. No need to touch Flare. So this will make using Flare's ecosystem feel like using XRPL. And there'll be no other smart chain in any ecosystem that we are aware of that will feel as native as using Flare with XRPL. So it's a great UI improvement. We'll be starting with, one, maybe 2-click yield solutions directly on XRPL with smart accounts. These make a transaction on the XRPL, and the intention of that transaction is then autonomously executed on Flare using Flare's data protocols. We'll then be building out further functionality over time so that Flare's full suite of powerful functions can be used with XRP, giving sort of practically native functionality. And this will drive transaction activity on the XRPL itself. And as we support more functionality, it'll actually give XRP more to do. And then really the second thing, which is, I think, really much bigger, is that Flare is building a compute layer together with something called protocol managed wallets. Those protocol managed wallets manage assets on the XRP ledger, not just XRP, potentially any issued asset on the XRP ledger. And this combines it with hugely scalable and private compute environment for both XRP and issued XRP ledger assets. And I think it's important for people to understand there's been a lot of conversation today about tokenization. And Ripple is leading the charge in tokenization and putting that on the XRPL. And the question is, once you have all these tokenized assets, what can you do with them? Well, really, what we're building with the compute layer and with protocol managed wallets, you can build any institutional or crypto focused use case. So what we're building with our compute layer and what we define as Flare 2.0, it won't just let XRP do more, it'll let the XRP ledger itself do more without having to do any protocol changes. So from the XRP ledger's perspective and Ripple's perspective, they're able to offer tokenization with private compute, i.e., the ability to transact between parties in complex manners privately without without having to touch the XRPL code, and this puts them straight to the head of the queue on where to tokenize.
Wow, that is incredible. I hope everybody in this space, if not, didn't get to comprehend that everything you had just said, goes back and listens to that, because incredible things that you guys are building for the XRP Ledger ecosystem. And thinking about, of course, there's tokenized assets that exist on the XRP Ledger. Could you see those types of assets also interacting with these lending markets and through partners like this Morpho and Mystic partnership that has been made?
So absolutely. I mean, our goal is to essentially offer the XRP first, and then the XRPL, effectively a full smart chain with seamless interaction through smart accounts. And then to go a little further than that, because Flare is a blockchain, but when we have our compute environment, we can do quite exciting things with those assets in private. And that's absolutely critical for institutional use cases. So what I see is a Flare as being extremely complementary to Ripple and the XRPL's efforts to push tokenization, to really bring the TradFi world onto new rails, with Flare effectively being an outlet for all of that. Once you have the assets in place and those are on the XRPL, what do you do with them? Flare is a good answer for that.
I really appreciate you for coming up today, Hugo, and sharing some of your time. I, of course, a lover of the Flare Network and all of the people we have up here as panelists so far, but it's incredible to hear all of the things that are being built to support the XRP Ledger, XRP, and the ecosystem around it.
Yes, thank you, Hugo, for sharing your experience and also all the amazing possibilities that Flare opens up for the XRP Ledger. And now let's also turn to Fig, our third speaker of today, who is the co-founder of Squid Router. Squid Router focuses on cross-chain liquidity and making assets usable across ecosystems. So essentially what it allows is for users to swap and bridge any token across over 100 blockchains, including XRP and the XRPL EVM. Hi, Fig. Nice to have you here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
I feel like you're one of the best people to talk about interoperability. And yeah, I guess in the context of this, to you, why does cross-chain access matter for the XRP right now?
Yeah, I think it's a really good time for cross-chain because crypto is just getting so much real adoption, and XRP is like leading that, of course, with institutions. But there's so much adoption on other ecosystems as well, and I think access is probably the most important part for building relationships, business relationships, users, everyone who wants to access the XRP ledger from a blockchain like Solana, Ethereum, even Bitcoin, and some of the other less used blockchains is cross-chain. You need to be able to access it in one click. XRP is a top 5 asset in crypto. We've got RLUSD coming up, probably the safest stablecoin in the entire crypto ecosystem. And if the XRP community wants to like drive adoption to these two assets and everything else that's being built on XRPL, we need really good open trade routes with the other blockchains. And you could see this in a competitive way where, you know, we want XRP to be the only blockchain, XRPL. But I think, you know, we've seen time and time again over the course of history that free markets like are a positive something for everyone. And, you know, the innovation and adoption of crypto happening on other chains can actually drive more adoption and innovation on the XRP ledger as well. And it's like cross-chain, that's the missing link there, like being able to bring those innovations across and let users traverse the ecosystem and adopt XRP's tech.
And super cool, right? I mean, you know, thinking about interoperability and being able to interact with other networks and expand this XRPL ecosystem is truly a highlight. And you and your team, you guys have been building some great things. The thought of putting this into practice, right? Could you briefly maybe walk us through, right? How does Squid Router actually connect all of these networks and that seamless interaction that occurs through that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll go through some examples. So, I mean, the first really simple example is where the official with Axelar bridge for XRP between the sidechain, the XRPL sidechain, and the main ledger. So you can use Squid to, if you have XRP on XRPL, you can go to our application, or if you're a developer, you can use our API to transfer that XRP over to the sidechain where there's an EVM environment and, you know, building ecosystem of apps over there. But then Squid actually supports 100 chains, and we support tens of thousands of tokens. So if you're a user on Solana and you've been trading meme coins, but now you want to do something a little bit less risky, you can swap your Solana over to RLUSD. We don't actually support RLUSD just yet, but we will soon. You can swap it over to RLUSD, hopefully invest in a yield product on XRPL, and we've got lending coming soon on the ledger. So like really excited for all of these products to come up. And then lastly, if you're an institution who issues assets, you know, these huge institutions like BlackRock and Securitize, and, you know, the list goes on, they often issue assets on multiple chains. So if they've issued an asset on Ethereum and they also want to issue it on XRPL, then our technology allows sort of a combination of off-chain and on-chain logic to happen, where these asset issuers are actually off-chain, you know, they're institutions, and our protocol allows market makers to KYB, you know, like on board with these institutions and allow the issuing, minting, and burning of these assets, and then the market makers also plug into Squid, and you can move these assets, say from Ethereum to XRPL and back. So our protocol's fully decentralized and non-custodial, so we don't ever have to we never take control of users' funds, and that really helps distribution. Like we can offer the protocol, well, it runs autonomously, so it can be accessed from any jurisdiction, and then we can pick and choose places where market makers work with institutions to do cross-chain activity. I'll stop there. It's getting a bit technical.
Yeah, speaking of technical, actually, I found it super cool when I was looking through your site that you have something that's called Squid School, where you explain like highly technical topics in super easy terms. So I was wondering, what's your goal with this platform? Is this something that's going to grow as well? Because I found it super interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. Yeah, we put so much effort into that. When we launched an XRPL, I think we did 32 different XRPL focused tutorials, everything from setting up a wallet to, what is a token, and Squid's always been about access, and that means all the technical things that I was talking about before. But in reality, crypto is a really scary place. It's intimidating, even to technical people like me, and we think that access mission, making crypto simple and accessible to the world, extends all the way through user experience and education. So that's the reason we've invested in Squid School, and it's going to become more and more part of what we do. We break down the products internally at Squid into we've got different technical products, but Squid School's there as like one of the top 6 things that we work on. So yeah, glad you called that out. Thanks for the words.
Fantastic. Really glad to see that growing as well. I think without further ado, we can jump into the second section of this session. So for projects who are listening to this session, we kindly ask you to request to speak from your corporate handle. And in these 30 minutes, we will try to give the floor to several projects to explain briefly what they are doing, what they are building on the XRP ledger. So I'll just leave a few seconds for projects to join. And we have Anodos here. Hi, Panos.
Welcome up.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Here we keep building. Happy XRP Community Day.
And I'm glad to have you up here. Of course, another project that I am passionate about in the community, and Panos, yourself and your partner, you guys have been building for many years already. If you would like to go over, Anados, what you guys are building, and where you've started and where you see the future going for you guys, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, personally, I've been in the XRP ecosystem now for over a decade. We started Anodos back in 2023. And since the last XRP Community Day, many things have changed, but our mission remains the same, which is to bring DeFi to the average person. We want to build this front door for mass adoption and the killer consumer app for the XRPL ecosystem. And my favorite analogy is always, what Ripple is doing for institutions, Anodos is trying to do for retail and consumers. And we believe that we need to have these powerful features of XRPL accessible to anyone. And we have Anodex, our XRPL DEX interface, which has now evolved into a one-stop shop for all things DeFi on the XRP ledger, which includes like swaps, AMM pools, on-off ramps, bridging, and the Anodos wallet that we launched 2 months ago. And it's XRPL's first passkey-powered wallet, powered by Ripple's Palisade MPC technology, and allows everyone for the first time to create an XRPL account in roughly 10 seconds with their biometrics. We also continue being infrastructure contributors and the UNL validator. We're also currently building a few developer tools like an API infrastructure and a sandbox environment for XRPL developers and the community to be able to experiment with XRPL and also test like new amendments easily. And finally, the main focus for this year is the Anados Neobank, which is the first financial super app and, as we call it, XRPL-powered bank. And this is a completely on-chain and decentralized banking super app that will also bring the first self-custodial card, where people and users will be able to spend XRP and RLUSD in collaboration with Visa. And our end goal is millions of people using XRPL without ever realizing it and bringing this massive on-chain activity. So yeah, we are cooking lots of big things at the moment. And yeah, just make sure you follow us and sign up on the wait list of the Neobank for early access.
Great, thank you so much, Panos. Looking at other projects here, we have Mandla Money. Can you speak? No.
Cool,
Yeah.
great. Thanks, Sophie.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
perfect.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Good evening, everybody. My name is Julian. I am one of the founders at Mandla Money, based in Cape Town, South Africa. And what we are building is a stablecoin platform that allows people to send and receive stablecoins to cell numbers, so via WhatsApp and via SMS. I think we can think of this as, sending money using Apple Pay, except we are doing this using XRP or RLUSD or any stablecoin issued on the XRP ledger to a receiver's cell phone number. So that's at the heart of the stablecoin platform. What we've recently added is a capability to allow for bulk payments. So this would be, if you have maybe a government that is distributing social grants or welfare, or maybe an NGO that's distributing aid in a civil contingency affected area, they log into a web platform, log in with an XRPL wallet, and then just put in the cell numbers of the recipients and the amount that they need to pay. And then they click on pay, and then that is distributed to these user cell phone numbers. They receive notifications via WhatsApp and SMS, and they can sign up and create a wallet if they don't already have one. And then they can then do peer-to-peer transfers amongst themselves, or they can then cash out through or off-ramp through an exchange or a local off-ramp partner. We like to think of this as the evolution of mobile money in emerging markets. You might be familiar with maybe M-Pesa in Kenya, in East Africa, or other mobile money type of solutions. And this is really now mobile money powered by stable coins on the XRP ledger. I think for this year, one of our bigger plans is to add payroll capability to this bulk distribution platform, so that instead of just distributing relief aid or social grants, we can also then have gig or remote workers being paid via stable coins to their wallets as well. So that's what we're building, and the idea here is really just to try and address financial inclusion and allow for people to be able to do these micro payments, which are otherwise expensive in emerging markets using traditional payment rails. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, that is us, a B2B2C stablecoin platform, allowing people to send and receive stablecoins to their cell phone numbers.
That was a really interesting thing there that you guys are actually building. Can you delve a little bit deeper into that? So being able to essentially transfer value through what would be a message on a phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do behind the scenes is we generate a wallet for a user that is mapped to their cell phone number. The inspiration for using a platform like WhatsApp is it's easily one of the most used applications in emerging markets from a messaging point of view. So users now don't have to start trying to download a separate app altogether or separate wallet, and they don't think about the complexity of secret keys and all of that. They do have a PIN code that only they know that they use to access the wallet, and an OTP to give these wallets like 10-minute sessions. But the idea here is really to just try and abstract that complexity and allow them to allow users to then just make use of cell phone numbers. I think the parallel, the other inspiration for this is how mobile money in emerging markets currently works, right? So I spent a bit of time in Kenya last year just to try and get immersed into their mobile money ecosystem, and it's the same sort of thing. They make use of mobile money via feature phones, sending funds to one another using their cell phone numbers. And those mobile money platforms are typically operated by mobile network operators. And so for us, we are really just looking at an evolution of that, a paradigm that's familiar to people in emerging markets, and then just bringing in this new form of payment. Maybe I think just my last point there, in an ideal world, there's then no need to actually off ramp if you're using a stable coin that represents a currency that's already accepted within that region, then there wouldn't be a need to off ramp. It's just now down to merchant adoption. Or the other use case would even just be using it as a store of value, right? You want to hedge against your local currency depreciating and want to hold some US dollar stablecoin. Yeah, so we have integrated RLUSD as well. So really excited about that.
Thank you so much, Mandla Money, and I'm really excited and curious to see how everything you do evolves also in the Aquarium Incubator program with XRPL Commons. Next up, we also have Axiom here. Hi,
Hi, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Yeah,
Can you share a bit more about what you're building and how you're using the XRP Ledger?
yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Jofi and the Fringer for the invitation. And thanks, Ripple, for organizing this event. So I'm Guillaume, co-founder of Axiom Protocol. So recently we launched Axiom. This is the first prediction market in the XRPL ecosystem. It's running on the EVM sidechain. So we went live on January the 19th. And since then, we have been building strong momentum. So a lot of people are speaking about prediction markets right now. And I think that's one of the most powerful narratives in crypto at the moment. In January alone, the two biggest, Polymarket and Kalshi combined, they generated more than 60 billion in volume. So they show that there was a demand for this product, and I don't think it's going to change. So at this point, 6 months ago, we asked ourselves, why doesn't XRPL have its own prediction markets? And that's exactly what we have been building for the last 6 months. So far, we have generated more than 80,000 US dollar in volume with more than 500 users. It's growing week over week, and we can see strong spikes during major events. Like, for example, last Sunday, there was the Super Bowl, and this was the biggest market in volume we saw so far on the platform, and we expect many more to come within the year. So in a nutshell, right now on Axiom, you can trade many different markets because we are like XRPL focused and we come from the XRPL community. We have released many XRPL related markets. For example, today we created some markets around what will be the keywords that Brad might say at Community Day. And we also have like a lot of different crypto prices, hourly and daily timeframes. We've got stocks, we've got a lot of different sports like NBA, NFL, and we are going to release UFC next week. So currently we operate as a shared pari-mutuel model for the market. That means that there is no upfront liquidity required for the user and not for us as well. So it's extremely efficient for bootstrapping the platform, but we expect more to come in the coming month. That's why we are currently working on two different improvements. First is going to be the central limit order book. This is something that is a standard for prediction markets for prediction markets. It's bid-ask trading and continuous price discovery with early exits. So on prediction market, users need to feel super smooth when they are entering or exiting a market. So that's why we want to add this centrally limit order book with market makers. And also to support this, we are partnering with institutional market makers as to provide an efficient way for people to just trade. Because at the end of the day, what's the difference between different prediction market is the liquidity and the user experience from the users. So we really think that we will be able to bring as much liquidity as we can to the whole XRPL ecosystem through the platform and through professional market makers. And one last thing I want to speak about is ILUSD. Well, we all think that stablecoin is going to be one of the biggest narrative in the coming years. And I mean, when you speak about prediction markets, you think you're going to bet through dollars, because when you are going to spot markets, you bet in dollars. When you are betting if it's going up or down, it's going to be dollars. So we really think that this can become the convergence asset for the prediction market and bring a lot of liquidity on the XRPL ecosystem and XRPL EVM. And thanks to Squid, though, we are able to bring many people from the mainnet, from Ethereum. I know we are speaking with Squid, so Solana is going to do up soon, I guess. So Solana user could come on the platform as well. So just to finish, Axom is live today. If you are a trader, just come try the market. And if you have new ideas for new market, we are always open to exploring new kind of markets. And for market makers, reach out to us, especially as we are moving to CLOB. If you want to partner and like try to enter those markets, we are really open to discuss on that. So yeah, we believe prediction market is going to be the next big thing on XRPL and big narrative on crypto at all. So yeah, we need to be first on that.
Well, thank you so much for speaking about Axiom and what you guys are building over there. We're coming up towards the end of the space. We have about 10, 15 more minutes. We're going to keep it going on. But we have, one or two other projects we'd love to let speak and highlight what they're building. One of them has just came up, Block Vault. Welcome up to the space. If you would like to please jump in and speak about a little bit of what you guys are building.
Thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, so Block Vault, I've been in the space for the past 4 years, building on the XRP, where I met my co-founder, Andrew. We were both building separate projects and saw the opportunity to join forces and tackle the yield space. As Robert mentioned earlier, in 2025, that was the year where yield really came into focus. And we see this as a really big opportunity, especially for XRP, given that only 0.15% of XRP is currently in yield, and comparing that to other chains, significantly lagging. And so I guess that's where we really see that opportunity. A bit about Block Vault. We were part of cohort 7 in the Aquarium residency for XRPL Commons. It was a fantastic opportunity to go to Paris for 3 months, build with other like-minded creators, and that cohort was primarily focused on DeFi opportunities, so stablecoins, yield generation, and XRP value amplifiers. As mentioned, we focused on the yield generation, just given our belief that this is such a important area for XRPL. And yeah, that's really where we saw the opportunity to jump into. And I'm keen to talk about two things. So in terms of yield, we see an opportunity on-chain yield, particularly targeting sophisticated and institutional customers with two different types of yielding options. And obviously there are multiple different types of yielding options, which we are really excited that are coming to life in the space. But particularly we're interested in volatility-based yielding, and then eventually lending-based yielding through the upcoming amendments for XLS 66D, which is hopefully coming into effect later this year. But yeah, as mentioned, we're in the early stages of beta testing. We've built this engine where we think that there's an opportunity to really utilize and put to work XRP. With bear markets and bull markets, that's the beauty of having yield, because you can stay in the space and continue to hold that exposure without losing access to XRP. And yeah, we're really excited about having this as a new way, or a new path forward for people in the community, in the XRP community. So yeah, if you want to follow along on our journey, our X is obviously here. You can hear more about what we're building. As mentioned, we aren't live, but we are looking to build and deploy something hopefully later this year. Always open for a chat as well. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for coming up and speaking about what you guys are building, Blockwell. Look forward to see it and what you guys continue to do in the future. Two more speakers we have up here. If you guys could keep it short, we're keeping it to possibly 5 minutes each. Having an issue getting you up here, Xphil, I'm sorry. But Xpector, if you would like to jump in, please feel free to speak about what you guys are building project-wise. And if you could keep it that 5 minute shorts, and we'll jump over to Xphil and we'll close up after.
That's Rager. Thanks for having me, and I'll keep it shorter than 5 minutes. Ripple, thanks for hosting it. Anodos, Axiom, Sophie, Hugo, Commons. It's a pleasure, and I'm honored to be here on stage. We are doing something that is more on the gaming side. However, we're not building a game. We see it as the 3D internet, and I think that Ripple has in its profile that they are building the internet of value. Well, we are building the experiential layer, the immersive layer on top of that. XRPL native, we've been around for 4 years. I've been in the ecosystem for more than 7 years, using, of course, Zaman wallet as our wallet of preference. And we hope to be able to onboard lots of people from outside the ecosystem to our project, and of course to the XRPL. If you don't know what we're doing, make sure that you give us a follow. We create 3D immersive experiences. It can be personal spaces, it can be games. We can have brands in there, corporate training, education, and so on. To give you some idea for the people that don't know us, we have a partnership, an official partnership with Alpine, the very famous French car brand, and also their Formula One team. We have Zaodao in there in our virtual world with an experience, and we will do some more with them. Sophie, XRPL Commons. I don't know if I can spill the secret, but if I'm not mistaken, Commons will have a presence in our world very soon as well. We have about 50 plus ecosystem partners, projects. We have 300 plus independent builders using our EDK, our environment development kit, and about 10,000 unique holders. Every asset in our world is represented by an NFT on the XRPL. I think in absolute numbers, in dollar value, if you take our pre-sales in account, that we are responsible for somewhere around 20% of all NFT related volume on the XRPL. If you guys are interested and we really want to populate our world with serious businesses, and we have proved that serious businesses are interested in what we're doing. One of our partners is Schumann Financial, issuer of the Europe stablecoin, also on the XRPL, MiCA compliant. One of our other partners that has a building and an immersive experience inside Expector is Amina Bank Global, a Swiss fully regulated crypto-friendly bank and the first bank in Europe that implemented Ripple payment rails. So there is a lot of things to do. It's the fun layer. Hugo, I've been speaking to Quantic and to people on your team. I would be really happy to have Flare in there as well. Axiom and Anados, you guys are invited as well. We will build amazing stuff for you guys. And we really want to be that marketing layer initially, to start discovering what we can do together. First of all, it's getting a presence inside our world. Then we can discover what kind of immersive experiences we can create. But it's a lot of fun. It's great visuals. It's Unreal Engine. I'm not a gamer. When I'm jump in it, I smile from when I get in until I get out. Now, the next thing that we need to do is populate the world. And, and this is something that I shouldn't tell, but I tend to spill secrets. We have a potential huge partnership with the biggest sports conglomerate in the world. City Football Group, the owners of Manchester City, but they want to see traction and they want to see a world full of people, full of businesses and full of activity. So this is a big call out to everybody in the space, not only community members. It's not about buying tokens or NFTs. We can do custom built immersive experiences for you guys and you will be stunned. So feel free to shoot a DM. DMs are open. That Ranger, I think I'm well below the 5 minutes. Again, I'm very grateful to have you guys. We've been around for quite a while. We've survived lots of things and we're still showing up, still building, and still here to support everybody else building in this ecosystem.
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you very much for coming up, Expector, and speaking about what you guys are building and highlighting all of these different metrics and products that are being utilized by the XRP and the XRP ledger itself, ecosystem wise. So just appreciate everybody who came up today. I hope everyone continues to listen to these spaces throughout today and tomorrow for all of the different regions and geolocations. So far, from what I've gotten to listen to, everything has been just information rich and packed. And of course, getting to share these experiences with the community is exactly why I think Ripple is hosting these spaces. Brad said something earlier, right? The XRP to them is the North Star and always has been. And, I continue to believe that as well for my own self, from looking at the potential of what these technologies will really offer.
Yes, that's right. And let's not forget that we also have a very exciting announcement at the end of this session. So if you kept listening throughout the session, you actually get a big reward because we are just announcing the second swag drop of the day. So the RippleX account just shared the link in the comment section of this X space, and you can just sign up to win one of bags. And if you missed it, then don't worry. There will be one drop throughout the event. And yeah, without further ado, I think we can wrap up this session. This is the end of the first session out of the 3 happening, and you can tune in into the Americas and APAC ones as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, I think they're finished. So let me just make sure that.
Don't forget to hit that swag link, guys.
Dang, that almost startled me. All right, so I'm going to start wrapping things up. Aman, awesome tweet. Thanks for showing this one right here, straight from Hugo. The alpha for Firelight is they are raising that cap from 25 million in the week of the 23rd. That's coming up, you guys. That's 2 weeks from now. You can bet that I'm going to be watching this like a hawk. You guys are going to hear it straight from me once this opens up. I'll be throwing a lot more in. So I've been waiting kind of for this Firelight Vault to go up for a while now. I want to throw a lot more in. And I'm thinking whatever I put into Mystic, I'll put an equal amount into Firelight. So I'm thinking about And this is just what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about increasing both my Mystic and my Firelight to 1,000 each, and let's just see what happens with that. Very cool stuff. Very excited for that. I want to ask you guys, because I don't personally really like the prediction market stuff. I'm not against them making tech that's going to support it. I know there's people out there that want to use it, but I just see it as more gambling. It's kind of degenerate behavior, but every once in a while I do see interesting polls out there on the prediction markets that it gives me an idea of which way the wind is blowing in terms of public sentiment. So I do see some value in it for that. But I was looking through this tweet from Axiom, I think it was. Let me see if I can get back to it. Yeah, here it is. You guys, are we really gonna bet money on whether or not Brad Garlinghouse says the word meme coin, or if he says the word lock in? And it's not like there's a lot of money. I don't even know if this is actually a real screenshot or if they just made this for marketing, but am I really going to gamble on whether or not Brad Garlinghouse is going to use a certain word? I feel like that's degenerate behavior. Okay, cool. If we're going to make the technology to be able to do this kind of stuff, sure, go for it. But I'll personally not use it. I think it's degenerate. That's just my opinion. But I want to hear what you guys think, because it's not just all about me. But if you guys agree, disagree, love to hear from you. Aman says you can swap for STXRP as well. I don't fully understand what you mean by that, Aman, but there's been scammers out there trying to say that they can get you into Firelight by doing some kind of procedure. I'm just going to hang tight. I can wait 2 more weeks. The week of the 23rd, that's 2 Mondays from now. When the Firelight vaults go up, I'm going to be getting my Firelight directly from the source. Whether it's true or not that you can kind of backdoor your way into the Firelight vaults, maybe it's true, but you know, I for example, we covered it. This guy's a scammer, by the way. I talked to some people from Flare. They confirmed it. So this is a scam. This guy wanted me to backdoor into Firelight, and of course, it was a scam link. This wallet would have liquidated me. So I'm gonna wait the 2 weeks. Even if there is, if Open Ocean is legit or not, I'm just gonna wait the 2 weeks, because I've seen too much in the past couple of months here. I'm happy to hear that. If if Hugo is saying it's 2 weeks for phase 2, then I'm a happy camper. I can wait it out. Chris says, I think it's degenerate, but I think there's a lot of money in it. There's definitely a lot of money in it. So I don't hate that they're making the technology for it, but if I pull up Coinbase right now, maybe I don't know if I'll even be able to show this to you guys. It might be too small on the screen. But if you go to the Coinbase homepage, right there, before you even get to your actual balances, I put the dots up so you guys can't see. I'm gonna go full screen here. I think this is the best way to do it. You guys are gonna see, maybe you can't see, I don't know. I'm gonna hold it up. Trade your predictions. It's right there on, I mean, before you even get to your own balancer, like your own portfolio, it's like boom, right in your face. Like, hey, we got these prediction markets. And then, I mean, you're betting on stupid stuff. I just don't really like this stuff, you guys. I don't need to bet on whether it's going to be 75 degrees in Tampa tomorrow or 80. It just seems to me like degenerate gambling behavior. My goal on this whole channel, like the whole goal of this channel, is to try to break through this degenerate gambling reputation that crypto has. And then Coinbase goes and makes this prediction market the very first thing you see when you open their app. It's like, geez, it's like in some cases you just can't win. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, we're all allowed to have different opinions, but I've never been a casino guy. I had a friend once. We went to the casino in Detroit. He was playing blackjack. He lost 10 hands in a row. It was $1,000, and he went to the ATM, and his ATM declined the authorization. So then he's asking each one of us, like, "Come on, I'll pay you back. I need you to pull out $1,000." And I didn't do it, but it put me in a situation that I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in a casino giving my buddy $1,000. And it caused a little bit of friction in our friendship at the time. I mean, this was like 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago. So at this point, I don't even think he remembers it, but I remember it. And at the time, it's like, well, I got this friend trying to guilt trip me into pulling out $1,000 for him because his own debit card got declined at the ATM. I've seen too much of the gambling. I just don't like it. And then to see these prediction markets being advertised everywhere. And I'm not hating on Axiom. It's not like that. It's just, I don't know if that's the direction I want this all going in. But to some extent, it's good to see that there's on-chain things going on. It's just maybe not the direction I would want it to go in first. But that's just my opinion. We're all allowed to have different opinions, and that's just mine. Maybe I'm just being a hater. Brad was on X the other day using the famous "be greedy when others are fearful" line, basically giving us the hint. Yes and no. I mean, obviously, I think XRP, we all think it on this channel, that XRP is going to do tremendous things, but sometimes I wonder if even at the top level, we're kind of getting engagement farmed a little bit. I'm not expecting any significant price action, at least for a little while longer. We'll see. If I'm wrong, if I'm wrong about that, I'm going to be benefiting from being wrong. So it's not, it's not like that. But I don't know. I just think prices are going to be down for a little bit longer. When I read that, being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful, really what that tells me, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. It just tells me about the buying opportunities. And so if you were to look at it from that angle, I would buy a $1.36 XRP all day. This to me is a price that I would be very happy buying XRP at. If I had a little bit more dry powder, I probably would be. But right now I'm a little bit spent, so I got to kind of play it safe. But in general, you guys know if you've been watching for a while, once a month I move a portion of my retirement into the XRP ETFs. So I've already done that for the month of February. I did it at $1.50. I'm just going to chill. I hate to say it, but I think we're going to see this thing go down a little bit more. If this goes down to $1.20, I'll do it again, even if it's a little bit earlier than March. But that's just my personal feelings. I think we're probably going to see a down market for at least a few months. But all these developments are great things, right? Like, we're seeing that XRP is getting some real adoption here. With Spectre, if you don't know what Unreal Engine 5 is, it's basically the platform that all modern day video games are developed on. So to see that Unreal 5 is going on chain, that's actually a pretty big deal. I've had this thought kicking around in my own head for a while now. I'll just say it here. I would think, and we'll see if this plays out, but I would think that Grand Theft Auto 6, GTA 6, is going to introduce us the very first stable coin that can be used in a video game. And so, and not just that, I also think they're going to also use NFTs. So like, let's say in Grand Theft Auto 6, you get a Lamborghini in the game. It's not called Lambo. They have to rename all the cars in the game. But you get the Grand Theft Auto version of the Lamborghini, and then maybe the San Francisco 49ers get a deal with Rockstar Games, and they make a San Francisco 49ers skin for that Lambo, and then they tokenize that. Somebody could buy that skin that does not even play the game and then sell it on the open market. I would almost guarantee you guys that this happens. And we've already seen a little bit of this happen with Counter-Strike 2 skins. So you guys might not know, there's this thing called CSGO skins, and this is basically already how it is, right? So I'm looking at csgoskins.gg, and Robbie, if you're still in the stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of my World of Warcraft friends do too. You can buy skins in the game with real money that are like completely unique, not just unique in the fact that like they were only offered one time or whatever, but in some cases there might only be one copy of this skin. And so if you want this skin, this FAMAS skin right here, you could buy this skin and then you could also resell it at a later time. At least I don't play Counter-Strike. I think that's how it works. I would not be surprised to see some of this kind of stuff get on chain for the next generation of gaming. You know, you get the AK skin. Look, I got this cool little spray paint skin. Oh, hey, there he is, Sir Aquas. Robbie, can you keep me honest? Is that how it works? Like, if I were to buy this AK skin, I could use it, but then if I wanted to sell it, I could still sell it, right? Or is it consumed in the game when you apply it to your weapon? I don't know. I don't play Counter-Strike, but I know other people that do. A lot of people in my World of Warcraft guild played Counter-Strike, and they would show me the money they made on their skins. I had a guy in my guild make $5,000 off a skin that he was holding for like 7 or 8 years, which the whole thing is kind of crazy to me. But like even right here, you got a limited edition item. I would not be surprised to see this kind of stuff make its way onto the crypto market. What they're talking about with Axiom, I kind of see it going in that direction. So we'll see if it all plays out that way. But, you know, this is the kind of stuff I'm really interested in, you guys, because all of these different little streams, it's kind of like you got the Mississippi River, right? It's the biggest river in the U.S., but there's all these little streams from, I think it starts in Minnesota, or maybe it starts in, maybe it's in Nebraska. I don't know where the Mississippi River starts, so maybe we don't get to that level, but it starts in the north, it goes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, and there's these little tiny streams that all feed into this river, and it just becomes this enormous river by the time you get to the American South. So I'm looking at XRP adoption the same way. There's all these tiny little streams that by the time you add them all together, that's where you get your adoption. So that's what I think. That's what I think we're heading towards. That's my prediction. Now, I don't really have much time for gaming. I had to stop playing WoW. I'm playing the single player versions of Halo to get my gaming fixed. But aside from that, I'm basically either making videos or researching the next one. So there we go. Aman says tributaries. That's the word I wanted. I think there's a lot of tributaries in the crypto market that's going to lead to not just XRP, but, you know, it's going to be market wide. I mean, all of these coins are going to go up in some way or another. I mean, even Solana and Ethereum. I don't like Dogecoin, but I bet even Dogecoin gets some kind of traction here. But let's just see what happens with Grand Theft Auto 6. I think it comes out this year. I don't know when it actually releases. I would be very curious to see. So Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out later this year. Be very curious to see, do they sell NFTs in this game? I am predicting it now that I think that they will. We have until November to see if that's true. Andrew, you still live? Did someone pay you to stay on longer? No, I just kind of feel like I'm on a roll right now. But, you know, we covered a lot of other people talking today, so I didn't really get as much time to speak in between. So I'm kind of just giving some of my post-game interview thoughts, I guess you could say. I'll wrap this up at 1:30. We've been live for almost 4 hours, so I've been holding a bathroom break. My dog hasn't been out. So we'll no matter what, at 1:30, I'm going to wrap this thing up. A lot of really cool stuff going on. Going to the HBAR Dev Conference next week. There's going to be a Flare conference on February 27th. There's going to be tons of news coming out, and I'm going to try to really get on top of all this as much as I can. Coming from ZERP, CS2 skins aren't meant to be sold for real cash. Steam only lets you use sale proceeds on its platform. Some third-party exchanges allow cashing out, but they charge fees. That's good to know. I'll be honest, I'm not that active in the CS community. I just go off what people are telling me, but I would not be the least bit surprised to see that crypto and gaming, I think, are going to really kind of move in parallel lines here pretty soon. We seem to be moving away from the loot box era, but the in-game shops are, as predatory as they've ever been. Wouldn't be surprised to see if there's at least some decentralization of that. At least you can make your money back by selling skins. So I think that is kind of cool. I did play a lot of Diablo 2 back in the day. I don't know if you guys played that game, but they had this website called D2JSP way back in the day. I wonder if it's still out. Oh wow, this thing still exists. So D2JSP is like the original Bitcoin in a weird way, because they have this thing called Forum Gold. So if you never played Diablo 2, I mean, guys, this is like literally 2001 we're talking about. If you found something that was very valuable, like there was an item in Diablo 2 called the Shaco. If you played Diablo 2, you know what I'm talking about. If you found a Shaco, you could go onto this website and sell it for 15 USD, but it would come in the form of Forum Gold. So you could either hold it as Forum Gold and then buy other items with that Forum Gold, or you could cash out, and I'm sure they took a fee. But this stuff's been around actually for quite a long time. This similar stuff happens in World of Warcraft with, buying Warcraft gold. I think it's only a matter of time before we see this officially move away from the black market and start to be like officially supported by game developers. I think that's the direction this is going. And I think with Grand Theft Auto 6, we're going to see probably the first time where a video game studio endorses you making money selling items from the game. Diablo 3 actually tried it, so I guess they were really the first ones that did it, but we're going to have to see how all of this plays out. Russian says he's playing Diablo 2. What class are you playing? I always was a big fan of making a fire sorceress, a skeleton necromancer, and of course the Hammerden. Probably my top 3 favorite ones to play. But with this, guys, I'm going to start wrapping up because I got to use the bathroom soon, and my dog's kind of getting antsy on me. But this is a good stream. This is cool. This is kind of what I want to be doing. I want to cover more like live events. So I think we'll definitely do more of stuff like this. And when we do, I'll probably just keep the time frame open-ended. I like being able to kind of dig into some of this different stuff. Cool to see so much going on in the XRP space. Kind of digging into the Xammon wallet a little bit too. I don't have it, but it could be an alternative to Bifrost. So just fun stuff to look at. Appreciate all you guys that hopped in today. I know this was a longer stream. I'm sure some of you guys joined midway through and some people couldn't make it to the end. So in general, don't feel like you're obligated to stay for the whole thing. If you guys got things to do, I'm not going to feel bad that you guys are moving on to different things for the day. Russell says, would Beam Crypto be in play for the payment system you're referring to? I don't know about that specifically, but I would not be surprised if someone somewhere is developing something like this. There's so many things moving on all at once that it can be hard to track everything, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if someone out there is doing that. What is Beam? Okay, Beam is a gaming-focused blockchain built on Avalanche. That's what that's what I'm expecting. By the way, if you guys haven't already, I've got the Discord out. It looks like we've got about 15 of you guys in here already. This will be cool. This is going to be this will be an opportunity for us to talk to each other without having to necessarily do as much strict self-censorship as we got to do here on the stream, which is going to be nice. And what I'm thinking about doing as we build this thing out, I think it'd be cool, and only if you guys are up for it. If some of you guys want to go on camera, we could shoot content right here in Discord, and we just talk about stuff. I know a lot of you guys are just as plugged into this stuff as I am. I get a lot of information from you guys. If you want, I could give you guys a platform to, 15, 20 minutes, tell us what you're working on, what you're looking at. And I think that'd be a cool way to get everybody kind of involved. All you'd need for that to work, if you have a laptop with a webcam, that's a good start. I don't expect you guys to have the full streaming setup that I have. But even if you didn't want your face to be seen, you could just throw up like an avatar picture and we just talk to you. I think that would be pretty cool. And Zerp, yes, I think you may have missed it. We covered that a few minutes ago, but straight from Hugo, the 23rd of February. Now, he didn't say on the 23rd. He said the week of. So on the week of the 23rd, we're going to see a meaningful raise. Well, I don't know how much that's going to be, but I don't want another version of December 3rd, so I'm going to decide over the next few days how much I want going into Firelight. And I'm going to make sure that I've got my FXRP minted and ready to go. That way, heaven forbid, if this thing gets maxed out on February 24th, I don't want to be kicking myself saying, oh, I got to wait for the next one. So it'll be 2 weeks from now. Keep an eye out for that, and I think that that's going to be some cool stuff. And of course, I'll update the spreadsheets as we go so that you guys will get to see that. Am I still sharing my screen? Yeah, there we go. I have a lot of stuff open, you guys. So thanks for hanging out with me. This was a fun stream. We went for 3.5 hours. This is definitely a record for me. I'm not sure I'll do 3.5 hours like this all the time, but this was a good stream, so I'm happy we did it. I'm going to wrap things up here. Thanks everyone for joining. I will see you guys tomorrow at our normal 11 o'clock start, and hope you guys have a good day. In the meantime, I've been Andrew Fillion. Take care.